I think it's important that people realise that we need to realise that we have the power within us of who we really are. And that's not the obvious, that we're just a physical earth body living in an earth planet.
Yeah.
It's actually, we're much more than that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a spirit, which is light, and we have a soul, which everyone accepts, and everybody might not realise that we can actually have conversations with our own soul, with our own higher being or higher self. And that goes on to link to our oversoul, which is a few more souls, by the way.
Oh, really?
It could be 6 or 12.
Oh, I see.
So there's like that family, and each of them have had incarnations either onto a body at some stage, earth body, onto this planet Earth, or other places around the universe.
Oh, wow.
So there's a much bigger picture that we connect to.
Yes.
And I think that probably is partly why avatars or very beautiful, strong gurus that have reached this raised consciousness or cosmic consciousness, which really understands more of who we are, in that what we are here in an earth body is really a bit of an illusion in some ways. In other words, I think what we're being asked is not to take ourselves too seriously, to always be loving, kind, generous in our thinking and our actions, and help as many people as we can, and certainly never not to judge anybody at all. And so if there's asked about the current governments, well, yes, of course, we'd all like to see better choices made for the good of all.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's some very good people in governments, and they find it hard to get past a group that's not so generous in their thinking.
Moralistic.
And so rather than give energy to conflict, I think it'd be better if we just all prayed. That might sound an old-fashioned thing, might sound a religious thing, but it isn't. It's actually part of who we are. We are light beings. That's what human is.
Yeah, of course.
And so Hugh, I think, actually is interesting. I don't really relate to any one religion. I like to, although I was christened as a Christian, but I like to see and relate to spiritual, connecting to our spirit.
Yes.
Of who we are. And from there, looking back into our soul and our oversoul, we connect to the creator of all. We have all come from the same place, even though our different paths have led us on different ways of understanding it, but not only understanding it, but on our way back to where we have come from in the first place. We can accept and be respectful to all others that think differently, as long as we don't hurt one another. And when I say hurt, I mean not to hurt physically our earth bodies.
No.
But that's like in war, but also in our thinking and the way we say things and express things. We can be very hurtful to people.
That's true.
And we need to try not to do that, to understand people. And we find that really, really all humans are the same. And they come from the same place.
Definitely.
And sometimes they believe things that differ from another and take action different from another. But really, they are the same people in their heart. I don't think anybody on earth really wants to hurt other people's children or our own.
Well, I hope not.
No,
because
of course not.
Yeah.
No. And the love of the family is the main thing. If we have issues with family, we'll to try to find solutions to that.
Of course.
Change what we can.
Yes.
What we can't change, hand it to our Creator, or God, if you like, if you care for that word.
Yeah.
God,
well, not me personally.
There's so many
but
things done
I
in
prefer
the name.
Creator. Yeah.
You prefer what?
creator or divine
Yes.
creator.
Yes, there's been so many things done in the name of God.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got nothing to do with God at all.
No.
Because God is a source of creation and it's love.
Yeah.
It is not judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hell or hellfire.
No, but
It's only what people believe there is. And if you believe it, that's where you will go.
And that's where you stay on here on earth. Even if you think or believe there is a hell, then you create that hell
That's
as well,
right,
and
yes.
then you live through that hell.
Yeah, that has been created, but you don't have to have anything to do with it if you know it's been man-made.
Yeah, exactly.
And even if it's in a slightly different world, can we say, and one that's more of a, what can I say, like a fictitious world
Yeah.
that we have created and we don't need to.
Yeah,
To
that's
cause
true.
fear or to cause control over others or
Yeah,
for a
that's
reason that hell exists.
We need to let that go. You think?
Yes,
it's,
okay.
It's time to move away from the
Absolutely,
fear
yes.
and lies. Yeah.
And we can change things so easily.
Yeah.
We are
Thoughts are
creators. We can actually
powerful.
change.
Yeah.
And if we all change in a similar way, which is about looking after one another and caring for one another, respecting one another, and not giving any power to talk of the dark side or the forces that seem to create mischief, which do exist.
Yes.
We know that, but we don't want to give them any energy at all.
So you think shedding the light, sometimes you think shedding the light on these, I don't know what you would call them, societal information or topics, is not a good way of approaching? You think that we should just...
I think when I said about prayer, that's exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
To draw from the source of all creation, which is light, and divine light, and just shed that and spread it and ask the angels, if you like. You can call it angels, you can call it whatever, but there are others in other worlds that are good and doing good for what we ask, but we need to ask.
Okay, yes.
So we ask them. They can't just come in and take over. They'd like to, but they can't. That's against the universal law, so they honour that.
Okay.
So, but if we ask, they will come immediately and help. And so when I say a prayer, I do mean that, to call on that, those beings that are God beings, that are of divine light, that only care and want to help, and to, then to keep them happy and to find ways to keep them free of anything that's negative at all times. So you don't have to worry about that. If you just focus on the energy of the God, of the source of all creation, that is the strongest.
Yes.
And so you don't even have to believe in protection. It does not exist if you stay focused to that source.
Well, yes, because I had recently read a book about, like, even hierarchies in the spiritual realm can be, I mean, I don't know, but it sounds to be a little bit fictitious as well. Not that angels don't exist, or devils or demons or whoever you want to call them, but in another sense, like you were saying, it's important to respect other beings as well and understand where they're coming from, but not give your power away to them as well.
It's absolutely right. Yes, that's exactly right. It is very important. The respect is a good one. And I think too, the way you believe, meaning everybody, the way everyone personally believes, is the one that you need to focus on and always connect to and listen to. And as long as it's not hurting anyone, because that is creation. Creation is creating, not hurting.
No.
So any belief that is to hurt somebody is a misunderstanding of something. All right? So to rethink that one, because we are all loving people. That is our first feeling, is love. You've only got to look at a new baby, and what do you feel?
Yeah.
It's just joy and love, and you look at a flower, and it's joy and a smile, and animals that are sweet and lovely and furry, and even the ones that we know are wild, we can realise if we leave them alone, they are quite nice to each other,
Yeah.
Depending, because this is not a perfect place here. This is the one where things seem to be tested, or people come for a reason to raise in consciousness and start experiencing, shall we say, a warm blood, the compassion, touching of feeling, and happiness and joy, and all those warm things that we are as sentient beings.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and we're all here also to help one another. That's a big one.
Yeah, I do feel that, because everyone kind of, like the people that I've met, whether they've helped me through bad experiences, or if they've even deterred me through bad experiences, have ultimately led me to where I am today, and they have all helped me, you know, and I can't judge like who's bad or good, you know, like without those experiences I couldn't have been like strong in certain aspects, or I couldn't have understood the way that I understand now. So it's important to understand what's happening and respect everyone on their journey, because essentially everyone's helping each other. You're right.
They are, yes, even what seems not so good at the time.
Exactly.
But sometimes those I'd like to say experiences rather than lessons.
Yes.
Because in actual fact, as a God being, because that's what we all are, we come from the source of creation.
Yeah.
So we're God beings. We are created from the source.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, we have been a bit misguided, or allowed ourselves to be misguided, or just do things without thinking of the responsibility of it.
Yeah,
those
that's
sort
right.
of things. So we have to, we need to answer to ourselves truthfully about everything.
That's
why
the most
we do
important
things.
thing. Yeah, exactly.
And
because we have to live with ourselves at the end of the day, and we are the people that we have to make judgments on, I guess, not other people. Because
assessments really.
Oh,
not
assessments.
Judgments.
Yeah, maybe judgments a bit harsh.
Judgment means there's no future. It's judgment. That's it. But
exactly.
an assessment is looking at this or that and what caused that and
that's
what would be
true,
better
actually.
to help that. That's an assessment.
More analysing what's happening.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we come from that place.
Yeah. Okay.
But judgment is like the judges hit the
Yeah,
hammer
no,
on
no,
the
no, exactly, and there's no other.
That's it. There's nowhere to go. So
it's not a good choice.
And that's why that doesn't exist in the source of all creation.
Yeah. Okay.
It does not exist.
No. And all these, judgments and labels and these sort of things
True.
are not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, that's, if you have that judgment about somebody, that doesn't leave you anywhere to go with that either.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's very limiting for people as well, you know.
It is, yes, because everything is energy.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's a what can I say?
Well, Einstein talked about this. Yeah, like the matter and energy of physical things.
Everything is energy. Yes, there's no. It just continues. Nothing is absolutely destroyed. It can change.
Exactly.
It can
evolves.
change its. Yes, that's right. It can change its form, but it's never destroyed. And so that's the same
like
with everyone, including us.
Yes.
We leave our earth body back to the source in the earth, but our light
Spirit,
body and our soul continues on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I believe that we are infinite, basically.
That's right.
Just experiencing what we need.
That's exactly right. And it's so real in us being here and experiencing and sharing that there must be a reason for it. The reason, I think, is within everybody's heart. Or I could say that because that directly connects to your soul consciousness.
Yeah.
Bypasses the brain, the earth brain, because that goes back to the earth as well with your earth
That's
body.
right, yeah.
So,
but the soul is connected to the heart directly, do you think?
Yes, absolutely. It's the consciousness that when your first little embryo is formed, we have this automative, as I said, something that keeps it ticking. Yeah. To keep the heart ticking. That's coming from your soul.
Yeah, right.
Right? And when it stops, it's time to leave. At the end of your life, which is relatively short here on Earth, compared to other lives that we may have in other worlds.
Yeah.
But it is a fact, and it's a difficult one, but we can learn or accept or help people. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because there are people that have been born into situations where they're more like, it hasn't been exactly their fault, but they're there. More cold-blooded people, if you like. More animal-like people. This again, not meaning to be judgment, because the earth body has reptile being in us, the base of our brain.
Yeah, right.
Mammalian. Then human means light being man.
Yes.
But then also we have inherited genes from the star people, which the medical world will call junk mail, junk
DNA.
Yeah, that's right,
I
junk
haven't
DNA.
heard about
Only
that.
because they're not understanding yet. But a lot now are looking into consciousness and what that is. And of course, consciousness is much more than what we just think is our brain.
No, yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well, it's linked to the spirit somehow, but...
Everything. It's not just somehow, it's everything, because as I said, without the spirit, soul spirit, keeping our heart ticking, we wouldn't be here.
Yes.
We'd have left. Our heart would have
It's
stopped.
the spark of our
That's
creation.
right. Half the stuff, but it's not. What it's doing, it's releasing. We have to release. Even Mother Earth has to release all this pain and all this.
Exactly.
That's what I would. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I agree with that as well.
I agree. That's what.
And that's we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Actually.
See, look, I couldn't interpret, right? But that's what I wanted to do to her. Like, it's not my will. I think you need to release it. I know you have so much anger about government, and I do feel that as well. Like, sometimes.
But I think it's not bad
Yeah,
to. It's not bad to be angry. I really don't think it's. Because
but you have to release it.
Yeah,
you have to let it go.
I do. But I don't.
I
don't. I mean, I'm not getting angry at the wrong people. I'm angry for a reason, But then I let it go. It's not like I stay in there.
Yes, as long as you let it go, because otherwise you're feeding it.
Oh yeah, I do. I let it.
Because
once I'm angry,
energy.
then it's gone. Because I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still there, but it's kind of subsided once it's gone. Like it's not as strong.
Get it out.
But if I let it, if I suppress it, then it will get worse.
It
I feel like it
away.
will. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's quite true.
I just release it like how I feel is best. If I'm just for example, if I put a post or whatever, then that's me releasing it. It's not like I'm going out and punching someone because I'm angry at the government. For example. I'm just doing it the way that I feel. But maybe there's different ways. There's a better way to release
I'm sure there's a
anger.
better way.
I just happened to watch a program yesterday. When was it? Quietly. I was just seeing quietly, how sometimes when you're working with spirit, they'll get you to do things like sit down and turn the television on.
Yeah.
Just, when you have got other things in your mind, but you think, I'll just sit down for a bit and take 5 minutes off.
Yes.
And it came up, and it was this, I think it's a repeat, because I sort of vaguely remember being on before. And I think it was about 8 young people like you, all invited, weren't related to each other in any way, but they were all Muslim, and they were all living in this house in a totally non-Muslim place in the area in Sydney.
Okay.
A nice house. They were going to live there for 8 days and just talk and see how they get on. You see, I think those sort of things are great in helping other people to understand the way they think.
Yeah.
And when I say they, I mean people that have different beliefs or different ways of doing or reacting to things. And they were having trouble. They were all coming from other countries, but some had been born here in Australia, so they were Australian. They were born here, you can't deny that. So all that sort of stuff, which is good. It helps to broaden the picture for everybody. But the thing that was interesting was that there was so much conflict amongst themselves, even though they were Muslim.
Yeah.
And they had, but you see, with the early days of the Christians, back in the 11th century or something, or even before that, the Christians had the same problem. They were all divided, and the teachings of the real teachings that had come from upstairs had been changed or...
Yeah, right.
Sort of not just changed, but embellished or given different views about, from the teachers as to what they really mean. It wasn't what they really mean at all, because the translation was, for instance, with Jesus, it was Aramaic. I don't know if it's a language that exists now. but Aramaic, you see, and there was misunderstanding just in translation.
Yeah.
And so you have to go in here
Yeah, that's
to
what I
find
feel as well.
truth.
Yeah.
And so, because everybody's truth is different.
Yeah.
But it all goes to the one. There's no such thing as a different God. They're all, you know, it depends on how you see God. You see God with white hair. You should be recording. You see God with the white hair and with long white beard and sitting up there, you know, on a throne. That's a child's way of looking at God. Actually, it's like a force. It's and the indigenous people see it like that. They see God in everything. Do you understand? Yes. It's the force. It's what makes everything the creative force.
The flow. Yeah.
It's the creation. Yeah. And it's true. There are beings that come from that place that I would call the hierarchy, that do understand and know, and would never dream of trying to sort out something with a war. It doesn't work. Nobody wins in a war. No. We saw a film on Saturday called The Aftermath. Okay. And it was a fantastic film. Yeah. We went just because there was no others that we thought would be any good. They're all science fiction. Not that we're not into science fiction, you could think that, but just by the way we think. But I don't watch any of this science fiction stuff. No, neither do I. But they, because I don't want it influencing what I get from upstairs. Right? Well, I just wanted to say about Aftermath is it was in Germany. Okay, yep. And it was just after the war, sort of 5 months, I think it was, after the war. Well, everything had been bombed to pieces. You know, like some of the country in Arab countries now. Yes. In Syria and Pakistan, or it's really sad, various terrible. Right now. Yeah. So in a way, it's like a repeat of why this doesn't sort anything out. No. And the whole story actually had a lot of messages there, but they weren't spelling it out. You know, you're just left with how you think after watching it. That's how good the film is. But it was about 1945, which is when
the occupation forces in Hamburg, which were British.
Oh.
And then the Germans, or the Hamburgers.
That's where Hamburg came from.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hamburgers. I have been to Hamburg, actually. It's like a port city, yeah. There's a lot of ports there. Because it was the main, I don't know, I guess channel, port of entry maybe, where they did export-imports. It's the north of Germany.
Yes, that's right. On the Baltic,
Interesting area. Because my cousin had studied there, so I visited her while she was there. But it was, interesting, sorry.
But you had the occupation forces, the British occupation forces, I wouldn't say versus, but try to come to some sort of understanding with the local Hamburg people. And it's very enlightening. I mean, it's only a matter of months or so when I went to Germany myself.
That's right.
I lived there for 5 years. I know exactly what they're talking about.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, I had a work colleague called Helmut Weber, and he was a Hauptfeldwebel. He was a company sergeant major in the bloody army.
I see.
And he used to march up and down in his house, singing it with the horse, whatnot, march and all this sort of stuff. They didn't, and they never will. It's in their blood. I tell you what, the Germans are a very dangerous race. You better believe it, they are.
70 years later, John, come on.
I'm sorry, Val, they are.
But the country is strange. It is a little bit like, I mean,
The point is that a lot of the youth were literally brainwashed by Hitler. Yeah. And of course they're kids, you know, they're easily influenced, they're easily brainwashed. In fact, we all can be very easily. Even now, that's part of what we've inherited in our humanity, because
we absorb so much,
So because another part of us before we became human, which is light man, we were animal man, if you like, but that was only because we were hairy and only lived in caves and sort of weapon wielding and not really involved. That's what they say. But what I'm trying to say is the brainwashing was slaves were created to do the work for these star people that existed here on Earth who thought they owned this planet, right? That sort of stuff.
Yes.
So that's still within us, in other words, in our brain, because our brain is reptilian, it's mammalian, then it's human, and then, of course, it's coming into being star people. So that's what's influencing now and raising consciousness for people.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say was this youth.
Yeah.
Then, so they were young kids, or say 18 or just younger, but just coming into that age.
Okay.
That way of their thinking is still there. It's still influencing the generation that's still alive, even though the war is over. About Hitler, they had two eights.
Mm-hmm.
Tattooed on their arm, and that was for the 8th letter, I think, and it was H. Heil Hitler. Heil Hitler, right?
Mm.
This is embedded on them with tattoos. And when we went to Germany, this was years and years later.
Yeah.
When was it, John? About
Did we go to-
2002, 2001, something like that.
Can't remember.
Did you visit the concentration camps?
Pardon?
Did you visit the camps?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No, we went
Yeah,
to
it would
a.
have been horrific.
No, it was a show for food and stuff like that. But John was there.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
that they actually, a little bomb went off there.
Oh.
And this is all
Hang
on,
that
Hitler
wasn't-
stuff. What?
It was where we stayed. It was obviously a youth camp, Hitler youth
No, that's a
camp.
different thing. You've forgotten about that bomb that went off that everybody had to
No, I
evacuate.
did not. It was just
Did
a
anyone get
firework.
injured? Or?
Well,
A
fireworks.
firework.
It was like
Was
a little
it?
minor bomb, I can
Oh,
assure
wow.
you, and
Okay.
everybody was sprayed. They had to get
Everyone
out.
had to get out of the building. That was Anuga.
Anuga, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, getting back, the thing is that there was a real rising of Nazi way of thinking and, all this stuff going on in the background. And
There's
that
only
wasn't all that
one
long
way
ago.
to love Germans.
Yeah,
That's to
yeah.
walk all over the bastards.
Oh dear. No, I don't think that's the way. But
Anyway,
I had
so this is what's happening. You can't blame all the Germans for that.
no,
But
of
they,
course not. But
there was definitely there with these young
They're
ones.
victims
You
of a
remember
cult.
that young one that you were asking about something? I don't know, and he was very rude
Well,
to
that
you.
prick in wherever that place was we stopped on the river.
Yeah, there was another
He's
place.
rude,
again.
all right.
what did he do?
The young
Well,
German kid.
I was trying to find out
Okay.
what's known as a Weinspender. Do you know what a Weinspender is?
No,
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like-
it's
it's
a
a-
coffee.
It's like a retort,
no, is it?
right? And it
fine, huh?
sits in a.
A sort of cup.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
it's a
I see.
retort.
Cream and smoke.
Thing.
What is a retort?
A retort.
I think you sort of
Like a
push
funnel.
it with an
If you
unopened
let me
that's
tell
there,
you, if you give
and then
me,
you turn it on and it
if you
comes
give me
out.
5 seconds to
What,
tell you, I will.
but what do you put in there? What is it? Coffee?
Give him 25
Sorry,
seconds,
go
he
on.
will tell
Go
you.
on, John. Sorry.
It's got an open top. It's a retort, and at the bottom it's got a valve
Okay.
which you can stick a wine glass up,
Oh.
and it opens up. So what you do is you pour the
Okay.
wine in with the. It's got a
Valve.
tube in the centre,
Yes.
right, which you put ice into. You don't mix it with the wine. Then you put the wine in, and then when it's cold, you simply stuff the glass up the chuff.
Okay.
It pours you a nice glass of cold wine. And I wanted one because it's very attractive. It's housed in black wrought iron.
Stand.
No, it's not stone, it's metal.
Eh?
Do you say stone?
Stand.
Stand.
It's a stand. Well, it is a stand, yes. And they're very nice, and I've been trying to find one.
So it's quite heavy. Did you say
No,
black?
not really.
Yeah. No?
Well, it wouldn't knock
because
over
it's
easily.
Oh, I
It's
see.
just
Okay.
it's a piece of wrought iron actually, which is sort of got leaves, what do you call them? Leaves and so forth from vines, or vine leaves and whatever, in
Oh, I see.
black
Metal.
wrought
So its
iron.
purpose is
Wrought
to
iron,
cool
yes,
wine,
yeah.
is it?
It's a wine cooler. So
Ah.
what you do is you put it on the table.
Yeah.
You've got the ice in there, and then you have the wine in there, and the ice in the big tube in the centre.
Yeah.
Right, cools the wine, and then all you have to do is shove a glass up. It's got a sort of a thing, and it just fills up the wine glass.
I see.
And I tried to get one, and I've been trying to. I've given up. I don't drink wine anymore. But it was just an
Yeah.
interesting thing to put white wine into.
Yeah.
And the last one I saw was in Singapore, and I tried to get that, and I couldn't. Then when we were in Germany, we went down. I know where we went. We went down the Rhine to Cochem. Cochem by name and bloody nature.
Okay.
He went into this shop, and there was a fair-haired, blue-eyed, acne young fellow. And
Acne.
he took acne, you know.
Oh right, yeah.
Teenager.
Teenager.
And he was a very unpleasant little bastard. And he came up to me. He wasn't that little either. And if I'd had Brett there, Brett would have decked him for sure. Right? I wasn't going to have a fight with him, but he was rude. Bloody ignorant. He turned around and he says, "Was wollen Sie haben? What do you want?"
Oh, he greeted you.
Purely
like that?
because we were foreigners.
And because we were foreigners, there was a time
So you
when
could
there was a
pick up on that.
resurgence
He picked up on that.
of
straight away.
neo-Nazism.
Oh, we could
It was
see
at
what
a
it
time, excuse me, when there was a resurgence
Mm.
of neo-Nazism.
Yes. Okay.
And it was quite bleak. You'd be surprised. They tried to turn our bloody motor car over at one stage, didn't they, wherever we were?
Wow.
Remember that? That little car we had? Yes, we had a French motor car and they tried to turn it upside
Oh,
down.
that's right. They thought we were French.
They
Yeah.
thought we were French.
Ah.
And the French and the Germans aren't exactly the best of
No,
mates.
they're not.
So
Okay.
they thought we were, and anyway, it didn't matter.
The French and the
But
English are a bit the
getting
same,
back
but
to
they
this-
laugh about it, you know, whereas the Germans are...
Getting back to this
Yeah.
incident, he came right up face to face with me and spitting out of his mouth, you know.
Oh.
And I thought, right. So he got very, very rude and very aggressive. And he says, "Was wollen Sie haben?" I said, "Ich möchte einkaufen, eine Weinspende einkaufen, bitte." "Nein, das haben wir gar nichts." So he strode off and he's getting really bloody aggro. I thought he was going to hit me actually.
Oh.
And his parents appeared, didn't they?
Yeah,
And they were very apologetic
absolutely.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
about his behaviour.
Oh.
And I said
Yeah,
something
yeah.
in German which I
Wow.
think made them all sit up. I said, "If he doesn't shut his mouth, I'm going to fix him up deluxe."
Deluxe.
But John
father's-
speaks German.
And the father,
Yeah, right.
and the father said to me, he said, "Well, please do." But he was obviously a neo-Nazi.
Yeah,
This
kid.
kid,
The
obviously-
kid,
he was
yeah.
obviously- he's probably early 20s, but he was probably
That's
Hitler
sad.
Youth and whatever.
Yeah.
And his brain's been washed. And he's bloody rude,
50s.
little bastard.
Mm.
And we copped a lot of trouble in Germany at that time because there was an upsurge
Yeah,
of neo-Nazism.
Wow.
Never
And
believed
things,
it
I
would
tell you what,
Yeah.
we went to, well, the Anuga Fair was in the Ausstellung or the, what do you call it, exhibition place in Cologne.
Colin's nice.
You've been to Cologne?
Yeah.
You've been up the Dom?
Yeah, not up the dome, not
You've been up
inside the dome.
You've not been up the top?
No.
We did. We went up the top.
Wow.
Then
But
when
there's some burial there inside. Someone's.
well, a few people buried in
Are
there.
they Templars or
Hmm?
are they Templars? The ones?
Probably.
I think they're
Templars?
Templars. Yeah.
Possibly. I wasn't even thinking Templars in those days.
No,
Oh,
we
I
went
see.
there.
Anyhow,
Okay.
We
Yeah.
went up the bloody steps all the way up through this one side.
Mhm.
There were two major spires on it. We went up the left hand one. I remember that. Then we came down. I said, "Right, well, don't know about you, but I'm hungry." So we went to the Domgaststätte, which is the cathedral restaurant or whatever, quite
Okay.
nearby. I told you this, have I?
I think I vaguely remember, but that's okay. Go on.
Well, we went in there talking English, Val and I, you see, because Val doesn't speak a word of bloody German. And bloody waiters wandering up and down, serving everybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah, I do
Everyone was
remember the
nice, blah
story,
blah, but
yeah.
nobody wanted to know about us.
Mhm.
So I had enough of it. And I
They knew
just,
we were foreigners.
they knew we were
Yeah.
foreigners, you see, and I turned around and I said at the top of my voice, like everybody in that restaurant earlier, "Herr Ober, kommen Sie mal hier sofort!"
In German.
In German, right? "Come here, you bloody head waiter, come here right now, fast." So
That's the
he-
thing they respond to.
Yeah.
It's amazing. They all come from nowhere. Oh,
So
they
everybody-
were so upset. They were really
I
said that's
See,
the
there's
only
nothing
thing they
wrong with
respond
getting
to is
angry
this
sometimes.
But anyway,
loud,
it got-
commanding
loud,
voice.
and you hit them hard, and that made him jump. It came across. I said, "Jawohl, mein Herr."
Yeah.
You didn't realise I was
He was
German speaking.
German.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
there were a few of them around. And, yeah. So he said, "Yes, was wollen Sie haben, mein Herr?" I said, "Speiskarte, give me the menu." So he put it down on the table. And then he came back and he got really quite aggressive. So I said to Val, "I tell you what, I've had enough of this. We're going to get out of here. We'll find somewhere else to get a lunch or something, at least a snack or something to eat.
Yeah.
So I got up and he came across to me and he was, looking bloody daggers at me, this bastard. So I looked at him straight in the face. He said, "Was ist los, mein Herr? What's the matter?" And I said to him, "Weißt du was, Herr Ober? Du bist ein ausgelagertes Fotzenkönig." And I thought he's going to take off through the ceiling. You know what that means?
No.
You know what you are, don't you? You're a worn-out old fanny king.
Oh.
Fotzer being the... In other words, no cunt king. Anyway, he did.
Not good.
He wasn't very happy about that, so he walked out and we went round the corner and we found
And
a
John
nice...
picked me up and dragged me out, really.
Right,
Just
just
not
put up with that
staying
shit
here.
from anybody, Germans or otherwise.
No.
But it was
Yeah.
everywhere we went,
You
we got
shouldn't
trouble.
have to. Yeah.
When we went down the Rhine, how did we get down the Rhine? Had a car, did we? Must have done.
Yeah, we did.
We went down the Rhine and we came down to the Bernkastel? Yes, I think it was at the end of where the Rhine joins the Mosel. And we tried to get some service there. We sat there looking like a couple of stuffed dummies, and we couldn't order anything. They just didn't want to know us because we were foreigners. Auslander, bloody foreigner. So I thought, all right, stuff you. So anyway, we went into this conditorei around the corner, and I had the thing which I love, which was known as the Königen. You had one too, Königen Pasteten, which is a vol-au-vent case with mushrooms, chicken, and cream.
Oh, okay.
It's really delicious if it's done properly, and a bit of it's in a vol-au-vent case, right? So we had that, and we had a couple of drinks, and I couldn't what we had, and then we were on our way. But I never forgot that. They can be bloody aggressive, the Germans, if you don't watch. The only way to deal with the Germans, I found that out about the first 20 minutes I was in Germany, where I spent 5 years there. If they shout at you, just go 2 or 3 octaves up, higher, and shout
They
back
back
at them,
down?
and they back clean down.
Oh,
They're fundamentally cowardly. You see,
Wow.
this whole murder of the Jews and everything was a sign of cowardice. They're frightened of the Jews. That's what it's all about. Awful. They can be really aggressive, but I just simply know how to handle them.
Yes.
If I go into Germany and they start talking louder to me or giving me any trouble, I go straight at them in their own language, and that really throws them.
I never had any problems when I was there, but probably because I had people that was talking German and translating for me most of the time, I guess.
Women?
Were you with a group or something?
No, I mean, I have family in Germany, so I was mostly with like my cousin.
You have family in Germany? Are they Turkish?
Yes. Yeah, most of them are Turkish.
Right.
Heritage, yeah.
What do they call them?
There's a lot of migrants there from Turkey.
Gastarbeiter.
Gastarbeiter.
That's foreign or guest workers.
Ah, yes.
They pull them in because they haven't got enough people to do all the jobs.
Yes, exactly. A lot of.
And those days it was quite good. I mean, the country was run very well, but you got the old league. They're absolute shits, I can tell you. And I came across them in Osnabrück on stage when I was living. You go out in the evening and play Kegelbahn or Kugelbahn, which is what do you call it? We've got skittles and you knock them down. What is it? What do you call it?
Bowling.
What?
Bowling.
Bowling. But it's bowling. Every pub had a bowling alley, which is very simple. And somebody had to put the damn things up. There was no automatic and anything else. And they got furious with me one night because I was thrashing the hell out of them. And I was with my mother at the time, and she was pretty good with the bloody Kegelbahn. You better believe it. She'd keep it down there. It's like somebody fired a goddamn cannon with 10 pins. And they were bloody with a fellow they called Fidden Nolte. And Fidden Nolte had been in Australia. And he kept on calling me a pommy bastard and all this sort of stuff. I didn't even know what a pommy bastard was at that stage.
Yeah.
And I tell you
is that Australian slang, pommy? Is that Australian? Like
Australians call them pommies.
Yeah, where is that?
Pommies.
It was P-O-M-G on the back.
Apples.
No, it's
what?
not.
Oh, pomegranate?
On the back of these other convicts was P-O-M-G.
Okay.
On
the ship.
P-O-H-G. Prisoners of
right.
his HMG.
Her Majesty. Or his
prisoners
Majesty.
of His Majesty's government.
Oh, right. Oh, so that's
Right.
where...
That's where POM came from.
Is it? I didn't realise that.
Yeah, I never knew
Well,
that.
you see, you instantly every day, don't you?
Talk to me, you old commie. Actually,
Oh,
it's the
dear.
original Australians, the convicts, had a really rough time too.
Pradeep looks
So,
a little
I
bit
think that's
pensive.
the-
Are you hungry?
Pradeep.
Pradeep.
Is he hungry?
No. I
Oh,
was just
yeah,
reading-
he's hungry, actually.
I was just reading the questions.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I do have a
Who
few
are those questions for?
These ones are for Val, and then I have a few for you as well.
Oh, well,
We
that's
can
all right.
continue later. I
well,
can
we
pause
eat
it.
Yeah,
lunch
pause it.
at 1 o'clock, really know the real reason or what's being played out.
Yes.
Certainly, people do need to understand about the influences that come from the dark and the light
Yeah.
forces, and that and who are being driven by which force, you know. And there are, you know, if you're psychic, people can see it.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you're not psychic, you can feel it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
still there.
Yeah.
So, and there's a big thing about that. And it's like I said before, you can have all these things happening to you, or you're reading about it, and like I said, there's a big bluff as to what is really happening and what isn't.
Mhm.
And so we need to be more open and worldly wise.
The word is avoid.
No, you don't
VOID. Yes, it's a
No, you don't. Well, I wouldn't have said avoid, but to be aware, not to get caught up in it, because as I see everything as energy,
Yeah.
and I know that thinking is an energy,
Yes.
and it's the very thing that can actually influence what's created here.
Oh, definitely.
Not just our actions,
Yeah.
but our thinking actually helps to create.
Mm.
So if you give too much thought to what you know is pure, what can we say about the dark and the light forces? The dark forces that are causing mischief where they can,
Yes.
don't give it any energy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say you need to be
Ignorant about it.
ignorant.
Or?
That's the word.
Yeah,
ignorant,
because I feel
ignorant
like-
about it. Yes.
Yeah. There's a fine line between those two worlds, like being ignorant or just.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know,
so
because-
easy. It's so easy for social media to portray something that's not true. They showed it.
There's a lot of
actually on
drama.
on the television. How easy it was to create a scene and use.
Yes.
And we're using old footage
Yeah.
of people, large masses,
Mm.
that were demonstrating, but it wasn't to do with that they brought in other signs, put them all in.
Oh yeah,
And-
yeah,
and
yeah.
just-
And then
in other
just
words,
labeled or
They've
made a
created
story.
something that's not true.
Yeah.
And that's why we need to be very aware. It's so easy.
Yes,
Even
it's very
with-
easy to be
Even with
manipulated.
UFOs, we need to be very careful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That it's not something that's already been created here on our scientific level.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I do think they're much more advanced than they're saying.
Yes.
So whether it's a true visit from outer space or whether, and yet I know from my experience, it's the existence of other races are very real, and they come. In fact, they do. They don't show themselves, but they come. They're also coming into Earth bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I've
So
got a
you know
bad
they're
bastard in
star
me.
people, but they're coming into Earth bodies, which is what I am.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
am a star
exactly.
person that's come
You
into an
are.
Earth body.
Yes.
You've
And I
got
have no problem remembering
you've got a
being a
good
star
soul.
person.
It's
I'm
amazing.
sorry?
You've got a good person on board. I've got a bastard. I don't know who he is. Or
Well,
she is.
that's the game he likes to play. It's a bit like a game here. It's total illusion.
It is, yeah.
We're told by the avatars, I suppose we could say, the avatars,
Mm-hmm.
that this is an illusion. That we are more or less playing out plays, like Shakespeare says.
Yes, exactly. Life's a
And we have
stage.
entrances and we have exits. You could say that is leaving our body and coming back in a different one, that sort of stuff.
Mm.
So why are we doing it? That's
Yeah,
a good
it's-
question.
Interesting.
Supposed
Anyway.
to be helping our soul, who we really are, to
It's all for
raise in
progression.
consciousness.
Yes.
But we're
Hello.
also here
Oh dear.
to help others as well. Anyway, we'll go over this.
When I was at school in England, which was after the war, just after the war, we used to come up with all these funny anti-German jokes.
Oh dear.
After the war.
Like, you know, in the concentration camps, they used to have weekly sport or exercises. And the camp commandant would stand up and he'd say, "Today we shall play leapfrog in the minefield."
Leapfrog?
In the minefield.
Oh dear.
Or today we shall play squash. Heine, start up the steamroller.
So what's squash? Is that tennis? Oh, okay.
Well, then actually, as a child...
The British are very much like the Germans, you know. They've got the same... You think what they've done in the empire. Bloody terrible.
Yeah. Not going to deny that, yeah.
In fact, anti-Semitism in Britain in the first couple of years of the war was extremely high. It's only when Hitler did them a favour and bombed the shit out of them that they became together and were not Nazis. But it was huge, particularly in the...
I mean, it's just recently though, I feel.
Particularly in the upper echelons of society.
Yeah.
The, you know, the dukes and earls and whatever, they were held on with pro-Nazi, as was Edward, Duke of Windsor, because once he got kicked out, he was getting a very strong alliance with Hitler. Because Hitler said, if I attack Britain, I'm going to put you back on the throne.
And married to whatever her name was.
What?
But that was a different thinking in those days. Thank God they've changed now.
Sure has.
It's very different.
Well, what I'm saying is that the British are quite a brutal race. It's all very well levelling stuff at the Germans. I soon found this out, but the British are no better. What they did in their so-called fucking empire, Christ.
But it's very cosmopolitan in England now.
It's very what?
It's like Australia. It's like many countries. They're all these different races. And
But there is still a class factor in Britain. There's no two ways about it. It's them and us.
Yeah, you can say. We went to London. I didn't really enjoy that experience.
No, they are very, you know, it's literally like layers.
Yeah, I know.
You've got,
it's here as well, though.
in Britain.
Well, I think that class system exists in every country.
In Britain,
doesn't it?
if I'm allowed to finish this, in Britain, there are several layers of society. The so-called working class are the salt of the earth. They're lovely people. There's no side on them. All they do is roped in to fight wars against people and destroy empire. Bloody ridiculous. Anyway, and then you've got upper class people. When I say upper, from the Queen and the lords and ladies and dukes and so on of the realm, fantastic people. There's no side on them at all. The real problem is the bourgeois bit between the working class and the aristocracy. That lot in the middle there, they're crawling all over each other to try and show how smart they are. And they are more snobby than anybody.
Who?
Really? More snobby than the Queen?
That middle class factor in England is terrible.
Yeah, like that in Europe too, in Germany particularly.
Well, so I'm really saying the British don't get away with this exempt, you know. You've got a middle class in Britain which is bloody dangerous.
Actually, what they did at the time, that they put all the convicts into other places. It wasn't just here in Australia. It was in Bermuda and...
In where?
Bermuda, I think. There was
the Caribbean, yes.
Caribbean, I mean, yes. The Caribbean, and where else did they go? They sent convicts to... They didn't send it to New Zealand. And New Zealanders are very, with a smile, always like to remind Australians that they weren't a convict colony.
The problem in
They had a big
Britain was this
influx of French, actually, because it was at the same time
in the late
as the
in the late 18th century, right, in Britain, was a major problem because the French Revolution was 1789.
Oh, I see,
right?
yeah.
And it scared the shit out of the upper class Brits.
Yep.
So anyone who looked dodgy in the slightest possible way, get them out of here. And that's why they started sending people all over the place.
They emptied all the...
So they just arrested them and took them to... What did they do? They took... So what did they do? They just...
They emptied. They sent all the convicts. You know, in those days, don't forget that it was a long distance from that side of the Northern Hemisphere all the way here to Australia.
Yeah, it's a lot
And,
of distance.
The French Revolution got all aristocratic people around the world in Europe off
They
their
chopped
bloody
their
asses.
heads
They had
off.
to start thinking about things.
Oh
They
dear.
chopped all their heads off. Don't you know about the revolution in
Well, I know a little bit. I hadn't really
The
studied
French
it.
Revolution, oh, it was great fun.
Yeah.
They chopped everyone's head off.
You can
Including
still
the
go
king.
there and feel it. Oh, it's awful.
In France. Sorry, where?
Yes,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Paris,
Oh,
right?
oh.
Where
I'll
they were
tell you
doing
what.
it more than they did.
Oh, but there's
everywhere,
catacombs there too,
The
isn't there?
Place
I
de
know
la
about that.
Concorde,
Yeah.
which is right next door to the Louvre.
Mhm.
The Place de la Concorde. Animals won't go anywhere near it.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, but I always
And
never
there's
was
even
you
like
go
an
to
odour
Bergen- if you go to
sometimes.
Paris.
Bergen,
Pick
you
it
can
up.
learn a lot from
Yeah.
that creatures.
Yeah.
Go to Bergen-Belsen or you go to Oxford. I don't know about Oxford, but I know about Bergen-Belsen because I went there.
Mhm.
Beautiful green trees and everything. Not a squeak or a bird in sight.
Why?
Yeah, they know.
Makes
Because of the
sense.
terrible.
They know, yeah.
A lot of people die in there. They chop their head.
A lot of you're not only a few, just about 6 million.
6 million.
Jeez.
My hearing aids are gone funny. Excuse me.
Alright.
It's ringing. Where is it? So I
Yeah.
trust it. Whereas that comes, I think, with a bit of more experience. But it
Yeah,
is
right.
possible for everyone to connect to that other self, that higher self that won't let anything happen to you unless there's throwing you in the deep end a little and, just showing you there is something else. And
Yeah.
you could start to realise that you're experiencing what you would call psychic experiences, and
Mhm.
you can grow with that. Once you start doing that work and working with past life stuff,
Yeah.
it gives you a bigger picture about things, and you realise that there's nothing to be afraid of. It's like watching a movie
Mhm.
that you've
It's more
seen
interesting,
before. We've
actually.
seen many, many movies of different time frames.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing within ourselves.
That's true.
But there's nothing to be afraid of.
Okay.
I think the only
yeah.
thing I was going to say was the movies that we see on the television or on the film
Yeah.
is because they put music with it, and all this, it's the darkness.
Oh
or-
yeah, right.
And you're walking along a hall, something jumps out and you frighten you.
Yeah. I never could watch scary movies because I was so sensitive, and that would scar
it's-
me for so long. Like
it's
I
not-
would be, yeah.
It's not something that happens like that when
No.
you're working with upstairs. Actually, they're very gentle, and it does
Okay.
give you a bit of a shock sometimes if they turn up in front of you. But
Uh-huh, yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
frightening like
It's not like that.
portrayed
Okay, good.
in that whips up the emotions of fear in the films or the books or the television.
Wow. Well, that's good because I feel like I definitely feel like I've been working with myself more, I guess, but I do sense some other kind of thing going on. But I'm very scared. Like I leave the light on and stuff at night. But I feel like if I release that fear, maybe I could be a bit more open-minded to what's going
Absolutely. Well, that releasing the fear
on.
is exactly the same as connecting to your God source, and that is the strongest. Nothing can touch you.
yeah.
Nothing can harm you. How could it?
That's
We're
what
talking
I'm
about the
putting
dark
in.
and the light forces
Yeah.
and the war between. We don't want a war,
No.
but we know that if we remain on the path of the good, the divine source of life,
Divine source, yeah.
and keep within that,
Yeah.
nothing can touch us.
Well,
They
it's all
just cannot
experiences.
survive. The dark forces cannot survive
Yeah.
as the light goes stronger in us and the frequency of it. They just cannot survive in that frequency. That's
true.
what's happening all over the world now. We are receiving this new energy coming onto the earth.
Yeah.
That's
I
why we're
definitely
here
feel
to help
that.
hold it, ground it, earth it, and be it. And nothing, it will just send away all the
Bad
the
energy.
darkness that
Yeah.
that could. We don't even think about it. Just think that if you want to see
Yeah.
it as a war, it's a win. Is it a win-win? You can't
Yeah,
lose. You
okay.
cannot lose. It's impossible.
But that's probably also the way that we shouldn't be thinking if I think about it, because it's not a competition, is it? It's not
Not
like
a
we're
competition,
competing
no.
with the dark or
No.
something. It's just something we need to release or maybe understand more and move on from, because we don't need that sort of way of living anymore, I
No,
guess.
no,
Yeah.
indeed not. No, and it's very easy for people to give away their power and start living these
Yeah.
different ways. And the old adage about being careful who you mix with is a very real, even now.
Yeah, of course.
Because if being with like-minded people raises your consciousness.
Oh, definitely.
You feel happy and you feel want to laugh all the time, and there's nothing about
since
fear.
I met you guys.
Yeah.
But also you
Like
attract
you do.
similar kind of people.
You what?
You also attract like-minded people.
That's exactly right.
You know, like
We
you
are.
just,
We are electromagnetic
exactly.
energy fields.
Exactly.
And that's very important too to remember all the time. You know how if we're taking our clothes off to get
It's
ready for bed for at night, it's dark, and you see flicks of electric light. That's who we are, and it's in our clothes and everything we wear and everything around us.
Yeah.
And
that's why we pick up so much signals, because
it's actually magnetized.
Yeah, it's magnetized.
That's what's holding us here on this earth, in our atmosphere. Otherwise, we'd just fly off. I'm serious.
True.
We're magnetized here
Gravity.
from the center of our planet Earth. It's a magnet, virtually.
Our body is like a magnet to
It's
the
linked.
Earth.
It's linked so that we stay here.
Yeah.
There are
And
people that can free themselves of that, and then they can
fly.
float.
Yeah, I know.
And
I've
fly.
heard about this.
But that's a mind over, and there's no problem
Is that
with that.
levitating?
This mind
Levitating,
over is also coming from the place where you've graduated to the point where you can bring yourself back.
Yeah, that's
Right,
the
so
thing.
that's
You
the
can't just
difference. There's
fly
nothing to
off
be
and-
afraid of. Ever.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's
But you
good.
can, I think, even if you're scared, you can always ask, or you can always pray with
Absolutely,
this, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't think that they can harm you.
No.
They
No.
can't.
No,
But
they
it's
might
just
have
about-
frightening looking faces only because we're not used to them.
Mm.
But I mean, nowadays, it's no coincidence that all the young people, the kids, are having all these different images thrown at them on television or in
Yeah, right. But I think
games,
it's
video
confusing.
games, things like that. That's to help them get used to all these different images and not be afraid of it.
It could be.
That's no
yeah,
coincidence.
That's not,
That's like facing fear.
yeah.
And there's really no need to fear. I mean, you've got boxes that talk. Boxes talk, a carrot talks. It also suggests that there's a consciousness with everything, and there is.
Yeah.
So
There is.
it's not necessarily in the same language, that's different, but there's a feeling, and you can sort of, even with people that you meet from a different culture that are human, you could almost hold their hand, and you can relate just by the feel that's coming.
Yes, I do.
And also the look. The
Of
look too.
Yeah.
And you know where they're coming from, even though you're not able to communicate
That's
in
true.
a language,
Yeah,
but you're still
absolutely.
communicating in a different way.
Yeah. I did have a lot of that experience when I was overseas. Like, maybe some people didn't understand because I look probably Spanish or like Latina when I was in Peru. I look Latina to them. They started talking Spanish to me. I had no idea what they were saying, what I was trying to say. I can't. But I still felt or I understood what they were trying to communicate. Like we came to some.
that's right.
You know,
And there's a lot of laughing going on because there's so much. That's the fun of it. Because isn't that real? That's a language with everyone. Everyone laughs.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone around the world laughs.
Yeah.
And they cry. Everyone around the world cries. Everyone feels pain. Everyone
has
feels
emotions,
joy.
Yeah.
Everyone feels happiness. Everyone loves their children. So, this
That's
is
right.
pretty well in general, unless there's something wrong with them.
I mean, there are
Nothing
some
wrong with the
exceptions.
kids, something
but
wrong with them.
Yeah.
So, but they need to look at that. That's something they need to look at.
Yeah,
be
of
honest
course.
with themselves about that. That's when you start looking at emotions. That's when freedom starts to come to you.
Yeah, I feel like emotions are very important. Like I do, I relate to my emotions more than before. I relate to them more than before, my emotions.
Yes.
And I kind of sense things out that way now. I don't know if maybe
Well, we are
empathy
emotional
or...
people. Everybody is.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But
And
sometimes, like in the past, I was very tending to suppress it or ignore it. But now that I understand where it's coming from, it's more easier to flow.
that's all good. That's all good.
Yeah,
Because that makes it easier to deal with them.
exactly.
And actually, emotions do go with we talked about the spirit and the soul leaving the earth body. Emotions go with it, by the way. And
That's
also
the memory,
way you
isn't it?
think.
Yeah.
So if you go with fear, that's what you're going to experience. when you go.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't know about other religions, but with the Christianity, they talk about, yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I feel no evil. That's moving from this dimension into the world of light. But there is that valley that's between, which is our astral, if you like.
Yeah.
Right? That's where a lot of people have fear, and also where the dark side hangs out too. So we need to understand, accept that we're safe, always safe, because we're never alone, never. And there's no reason to be fearful at all, ever. And you experience that. This is what I'm talking about, experience, when you have a near-death experience. John is not fearful of dying, nor am I, but we've both experienced near-death experiences. I mean, we've started to go and we've come back. Our choice. We weren't told to come back. We came back by choice.
Well, I was told.
Oh, we?
Yeah, they said, you can
That's a
fuck off,
different
we don't want
story
you
now.
yet.
That's a different story. Anyway, came back. And not very long ago, I was in hospital. I could have gone in September last year. And I had a divine experience. But I asked if I could stay because I still wanted to finish my work, right?
Yeah,
so that was fine.
Wow. So you have power over what you want to do.
You ask. I won't say it's always your choice, because you are representing an aspect of who you really are.
Yeah, okay.
The God self I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if you think of everything happening through God, that's exactly right. It's the God self it's happening through all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a book that says, you ask and it's given.
Okay?
There's a book called You Ask and It's Given.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's like it talking about law of attraction.
Yeah, that's right. That's to do with what you put out. You get back. It's the same thing as magnifying.
Yeah.
It is.
If you
and it's
think,
true.
Eventually you get the answer.
It's not the first time I've been pulled over by police for something.
Yeah, right.
And I've been looking at the policeman and thinking, he's thinking, he's a nice looking young man. He's just like my son. I'm thinking like that.
Yeah, okay.
Suddenly you could see it change, and I didn't do it on purpose, which is the way I was honestly thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I wonder what I've done wrong. and then next thing I know, we're having a very pleasant conversation.
Yeah, right.
And the policeman saying, well, look, madam, he said, I realise how you could make the mistake. You're not of the local, you're not of the city, you come from the country. I'm going to let you off. Right?
Yeah,
I'm going to let you off with a warning. But be aware for next time. And things had changed. Well, if I hadn't had that nice thought, it put out a nice reaction.
Yeah, exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But
It's more than karma.
I didn't
like
do it on purpose.
Electromagnetic field that we're absorbing, but we're also emitting our energy. So people pick up on that subconsciously.
Absolutely.
And then they give it back to you. So
exactly.
It's more than just karma. It's like an actual energetic, I don't know what you would call it, vortex or something that's attached to us.
That's right. Yeah. And you can diffuse anything that's becoming a bit nasty. Ask for God to help, meaning the high God self or whoever beings around, and you find all the dark side that hops in very quickly.
It does, but it goes
because
quick
to cause mischief. They think this is an opportunity, and they're hanging on by the fingertips, right? So they come
I've had that experience,
and they that's cleared, and so the persons you've left with that's become aggressive or hard to deal with, you'll find that something, because you're being kind and not aggressive, they don't know how to handle it. They're lost. And they lose all that feeling. It's gone. It's gone, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me when we were in a restaurant once, and they started to create havoc in the restaurant, these young fellas. I asked for help straight away. And it was all cleared, and I realised if I just kept them quiet, and I had this beautiful feeling come over me of complete calm, and I knew I was coming from a place of great help, right?
Yeah.
Just
so
keep
you were
them
prepared.
calm, and as long as you keep this one calm, the other one's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Right? So I just kept them calm, just talking, and they were showing me photos of their sister and all the things they were doing.
Oh,
and
wow.
he actually was bleeding, and I was stopping that from bleeding too because of all the harassment. They'd sent all the tables in the restaurant flying, and the wine bottles and the glass, and it was a real chaos, really.
Yeah.
But So I stayed there and was just doing this to help, right? And I didn't feel I could leave. I felt I was being asked to stay and look after, make it was all right. Because up until then, the fellow was being put in one of those locks that police put in, you know, that sort of stuff. And had him on the ground.
Half Nelson.
Half Nelson, that's right. Half on the ground.
Yeah.
And he's saying everybody had disappeared out of the restaurant and I'm still there. And he says, isn't anyone going to help me? This is the policeman. We didn't know he was a policeman.
Oh.
This is the one that first knocked him. Anyway, it's a bit of a long story and
okay.
I'm going backwards
yeah.
now. But
no,
the thing, right, he was bleeding.
Yeah.
And I said, you're going to have to let him get up because I said, he's cut from the bottles, from the broken bottles, and he's bleeding. So he got up and left.
Yeah.
And that just left me with these two kids.
Okay.
And
They
that
were
was
on
outside.
drugs. But it was all right because I just held the energy. That was it. It was okay.
Yeah.
They wanted to kiss me when they were going.
Oh.
And the police came running in. They were sort of like this, and they said, "Are you their mother?" And I said, "No, I'm not their mother." And the young fellow, shush.
They had
The
lots
young
of
fellow,
Well, not shush.
the young fellow started to give cheek, and I said to him, I said, shush. I said, just be quiet now. You're in enough trouble without causing more trouble. So he shut down straight away because I'd won his trust.
Yeah, exactly.
He was only 15.
Oh, okay.
Big boy.
Wow.
Big as you, easily. You know, some of these boys grow quite big quickly.
Yeah.
And his cousin was 17.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
I mean,
So,
But it's good that you had that
that's
composure because sometimes I can't do that.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, for example, if you focus, same with the fear. If I just focus on the fear side,
yes.
they're gonna win over me, right?
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah. Same with anything. And
Anything,
that's
yeah.
like
But do you
I also know there's so many bad things about police, more important about government. But if I focus on the bad things, it's never gonna change.
No.
But the
You
thing
know what I
is,
mean?
And it's easy to fall into that
Yeah.
because you could think, oh my God, they're going to kill me if I'm not careful, or, you know, I think I'm going to die. Straight away, those sort of things are likely to happen,
Yeah.
you know, because
Exactly.
you're attracting it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas if you take control of it, which is what you're virtually doing when you hand it over to your God self.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's just letting
There's
go.
a big need for us to all realise that we are part of creation and that we are God beings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they're
I
always
Not just
looking out.
come from there, but we are.
principles.
that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And that's what Sai Baba says too. He said,
Yeah.
he said, I am
Well,
God. And he said, you are God, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't
I mean,
realise
he
it.
couldn't have manifested unless he knew that, like
Yes.
meaningfully, not just from the.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like you said, everyone is God. That's how I see.
Yes.
Everyone is God.
Yeah,
you know?
And that makes it easier to see the good in everybody too.
Yeah, we have to.
Even the worst people on earth.
Yeah.
But-
But it's hard to come
but they
find
still-
that, you know, because especially if you're into this like truth community and you research and like
'Cause, you know,
I
I
have
was-
done a lot of research.
I was reading one book and it says, it's a really nice book, I was still reading it. It says, most of the time when you're angry, I get really angry. You know?
Yes.
But most of the time when I'm angry, it's not because of me. It's because of other people's angriness. I'm taking into it.
Take
you
it
know?
on.
And
Yes. Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yes.
Well, it's a bit of both. You have to
Yeah.
also acknowledge your own anger. I think.
Yes.
I mean, it's not just other people. It's both.
But most of the time it says, you know, like, because
Okay.
because you know how our body is electromagnetic field,
Yeah.
and we always take other people.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know?
We can. That's compassion.
Yeah.
We do actually
It is.
relate to someone and we feel their pain,
Yeah,
But you have to
exactly.
release.
Feel their anger, or
Anger.
we feel
Of
their
course.
joy,
Yeah.
or we feel whatever they're
Yeah.
experiencing, and that makes it such a pleasant experience
Mm.
too when it's shared.
Exactly.
And in actual fact, I think it was Jesus that said something about if two and more are gathered in my name, I am there. And that's what he's virtually saying also.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just saying Jesus, any God being, you know, because there's lots of God
Including
beings.
us.
Yeah, like
But, and
just
we
one.
need to recognise them too. And I think so. I think sometimes God beings can fall too. But
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, or whether it's that like we see that and those people don't, so it must be within us if other people can't see it, that sort of stuff. So we need to be very careful about judgment, and we also not to be so hard on ourselves as judging ourselves.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
like John's come to realise it's important to love the self more than anything, because you're strongest.
Oh, yes.
And when you're strong,
yeah,
you can help other people.
Exactly. I had said this in my another interview that I was talking
Yes.
to Bridget about. Yeah, because I had felt that I had not given enough self-love, and then through that you cannot really help anyone else.
No, that's right.
I think
It's very difficult.
I really wanted to say that as well. Like, you haven't give yourself, like, 'cause I feel it as well sometimes.
Yeah,
you know?
because I'm such a I'm very sensitive to people's
'Cause I also-
emotions sometimes.
I think
and
I
I give too much sometimes. Yeah.
I
And
also
have
told
to
you that
realize,
before.
yeah.
I told her before, like, I think you need to be, you need to love yourself first.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course. No, but I've realised that through experience and...
Yeah, that's right, and that's because that's like a role you've been playing out to get to this point, and you get to this point, then you can pass it on and help others that are in that same place.
Yeah,
because you've experienced and you know exactly how to express it.
Yeah,
so people can relate to it and then gain from that.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
You know, I've got some sort of aura about me. I don't know where it's come from, but it's quite. Well, if you mind, or if you think it's funny.
I didn't say anything.
No,
I
I'm
didn't say anything.
listening.
You just grimaced.
I didn't. So you didn't. You can't even see me because I'm
She was
looking that
smiling
way.
at you.
You assumed John is wrong. I think I did grin, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
I am blessed with one real strength.
Mm-hmm.
I can make people laugh.
Yeah, definitely.
And by that I mean, I can walk down a street somewhere.
Yeah.
And people say hi, how are you? Good day, and I just smile at them. And you think I'd open up their underpants or something. But anyway, and particularly women, they do. They all come. All right. But it's the fact I do. I have got that sort of thing where it helps people and guys as well.
Yeah.
And if you get a truculent Australian guy, I can talk him out of it.
A truck? Did you say?
Truculent. Truculent? Not heard that word?
No.
Truculent.
I'm not succulent.
That means.
He's becoming like you.
Truculent.
Yeah. No. You're a truculent, are you? And what are you, a fucking?
Oh dear.
I don't know what truculent means actually. I know what you mean, but what does it mean literally? I mean, I know how it's used.
It means truculent.
I've never heard that word before.
Well,
You don't even know yourself.
I do. One of the most famous British submarines is called a truculent. It sank. But
yeah.
no, never mind.
Hello.
Okay.
What are you looking at?
Little bird up there.
Oh, Christ. Toot toot.
Yeah.
No, truculent means
We can look at
argumentative or
highly what?
argumentative.
Argumentative. Oh, argumentative man.
Is argumentative
disagreeable.
or
Oh, yeah.
aggressive.
That's me.
That's how.
Aggressive.
I can be like that. Yeah.
Aggressive.
Which way did you come?
I accept that. I do. Yeah, but I think it's also good to be analytical as well and questioning, not just.
Actually, there is a safety thing in our brain that actually.
If you've got a brain, that is.
That Carl Jung talks about as a trickster.
Oh,
There's always something questioning,
Yeah.
and that's actually built into the brain to help people to get past this being led like a slave by what people say or do or say you have to do. In other words, it just stops you from actually, it helps you to question things.
Yeah.
And it's a safety valve, and it's for a reason.
Yeah.
Because before that, we were slave-like, we'd just do as we were told.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Especially
back
as children,
when we were
anyway.
slaves, back
but
in
I
our
think,
early days of forming into what we are now.
Yeah, that's true. But also, even as children, we just listen blindly to our parents, and we just learn whatever they teach us, and then throughout years of experience, we unlearn some of it. I mean,
doesn't happen anymore. In the new millennia, all the kids are questioning everything, and they need to know why. Why do I have to do this? And that's got a
But
reason
then also
with them.
there's a bit of brainwashing going on with the younger generation. I've seen kids that are like teenagers that are really, I don't know. I mean, kind of superficial as well, and really
I think I think a
trends
lot of the
and-
kids, younger ones, really
Yeah.
younger. I mean, you're not that old, but
I'm not
they're
a kid
trying
anymore,
to
though.
find. They know they're here to change.
Yeah, of course.
They make the
Some of
changes,
them are, yeah.
and the changes for good.
Mhm.
And so they're questioning everything all the time to want to find out why and that decision is made, or why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
You know, that sort of stuff, so that they know that they're, again, this is that trickster I'm talking
Why
about.
was I born so beautiful? Why was I born at all?
Or the existential.
Now, that's
question.
no accident that that's happening.
But I
But
don't.
parents need to take the trouble to explain.
Yeah.
And in doing
What
that,
life
they probably realise at the same time, oh, hang on, that's what my parents used to say to me. Why am I saying it to the kid?
Well,
It's not
Valerie, let me
appropriate.
Yeah. But then also, what was I going to say?
they wouldn't be the way they are,
Something.
our grandchildren, if it weren't for you.
If it
Guide-
wasn't for what?
Wasn't for you. Y-O-U.
Me?
Yes,
Why?
because you guide them. You're not even conscious of it. I know because I watch.
Well,
Yeah,
that has to be
watch out.
true. I mean, they're your
Hmm?
blood as well, so
They're what?
they're your blood.
Not mine.
I mean, Val's blood.
Yeah.
But,
That's
I mean,
But
yeah,
they're-
but you both have an input.
I've got
In
blue
there.
British blood.
Yeah. I must
mean,
say,
you know
I
what I
haven't
mean.
realised just how much I have influenced them.
Yeah.
You have. I
But
mean,
it
there's no doubt about
it must have been because I was always worried all my grandchildren are Catholic.
Oh,
And I
see.
didn't want to say anything that was going to upset their parent or their
Yeah.
mother. And I didn't want to cause conflict. Because, children
course.
need guidance of some sort, moral teachings. So that comes from religion, I suppose, and ways
No,
of
not a thing.
Yeah, there's
human values is what they need to learn.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing. But So, but I have actually spoken to both the parents of the mothers, and they said that's okay. Well, I think the one in Dubai did worry about me for a while, but I didn't really talk. It's only if they asked you a question, and I couldn't answer them not truthfully,
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't want to upset their religious teachings,
Oh,
because
I
it's not
see.
my place.
No.
It's their parents, not me.
Well,
So
help-
Or
I
it's
mean,
up to them
Elizabeth's
anyway
parents
as well.
have a problem.
eventually, yes. Well, that's what the parents have said.
That generation, Elizabeth's parents, are
No.
a problem.
The parents' parents, the
The
grandparents.
parents, and
I
then
see.
it's the same thing with Jenny's father and mother.
Yes, they
Well-
are. She's very. Yeah, I hadn't realised just how strict she was.
How which? Strict.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Anyway, that's okay.
Bloody
They're not
church.
hurting anyone.
Everybody has their
There's
own
nothing wrong with a
path.
religion as long as they don't hurt people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I
But
think
if you're not
that
happy
if
about it,
you're-
you don't have to be. I think the problem with religion is if people try to push their religion or
Yeah.
beliefs onto another,
yeah,
Tell me
and you
about it.
don't want it. Well, if
as a
Jehovah's
child, I
Witness
didn't
knocks
have
on the
that.
door, I say, oh, hello, pleasant to them. Would you like this book? And I usually take it because it's given with, a gift like
Yeah.
smile. And I say, thank you, yes, but I have my own beliefs, and I think we're all more or less on the same path.
Yeah,
So I
My
don't go into a
fondest-
conversation about
Yeah.
who's
Well,
right
again,
or who's
ultimately
wrong.
it's a choice anyway.
Till you know what, yeah.
But that's
everybody
enough. They
has a
smile and they
choice.
say, oh, thank you, and they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. What is that?
What'd you
did
say?
Well, nothing, I didn't say a word.
Oh, God,
No,
I believe that.
I was trying to, but I just didn't get it out. One of my fondest memories about religion and so on and so
Uh-huh.
forth was William McNeill Hamilton, who was at school with me. He's a Scotsman,
Mhm.
and his father had died, and he was the chieftain of the Clan McNeill in Scotland.
Okay,
And
You told him this before.
I told you this before.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think so.
When our housemaster came three of us for cutting chapel.
No, I'm not sure.
Probably.
Maybe. Go on.
Anyway, the bottom line was we went to our housemaster's study, and he said, "Can you three give me any reason why I shouldn't give you four the bet with a cane?"
Mm.
And McNeill Hamilton turned around and he said, "Sir, I have to advise you that I am the chieftain of the Clan McNeill. And so far as I'm concerned, I have a direct line of communication with God.
Oh wait, yes, I remember this now. Yeah.
And I don't need go-betweens like you." So we told him, he's a man of the cloth. Oh, Jesus. I've never forgotten that, and that's exactly right. But, I mean, the church is they're just bloody passengers.
Yeah, that's right. They just try to interrupt, or maybe not interrupt for some, but I don't know.
Well, all they're after is this, and trying to tell people what to do. They're not good. No good.
Especially the Catholic
church.
I mean,
as far as I'm concerned,
I don't know. That's my opinion, but you know.
What's that? What's yours?
Especially the Catholic Church, but.
What was the Catholic Church?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, with the
hellfire and
hellfire, and their
I'll give them bloody hell, fire and brimstone.
Fire and brimstone, yeah, that's right, and all that stuff.
Now,
That wasn't Jesus' teaching.
Can I ask something?
That wasn't Jesus' teaching.
Yeah.
Can I please ask something?
What?
Rose, do you wish to ask me a couple of questions?
Oh yeah, briefly. I can quickly ask. Is that alright?
Okay, that's all right.
Are you alright for time? You want to get home before it's dark? You okay?
We'll make it quick.
It should be fine. Yeah, just quickly.
Yes, ask me the questions.
Okay. Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you.
Are you recording, love?
Yeah, it's been recorded.
Have all this conversation been recorded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So you can edit
It's too
it.
late to back out now.
Yeah. You'll have a lovely time listening to it.
Okay. So
I'm
you
sure
read these and you were okay, right, with the questions? I can ask them?
Well, I can't remember them. You can ask
Oh,
them.
alright, I'll just ask them. I was going to ask, what is your relation to the Templars and who are the Templars? And
Who
what's
are
your-
the Templars?
Yeah, Templars. I'm sorry, I don't know how to... Because you do have...
My relationship with the Templars, I didn't even know I had a relationship until we had a couple of episodes in France where I was quite clear that I was in a new environment and it was a Templar environment. I mean, why would we go to Montignac and to Angoulême? I merely said to her, I'd like to research the Templars.
Oh.
And she said, right, well, when we go to France this time, we'll think about that. But we went to Angoulême, or went to Montignac en Charente, and it was incredible. I mean, something happened there which made it quite clear that I had been a Templar Chevalier.
Wow.
And from then onwards, I was really very much committed to them. I found them a fascinating lot more. So I went back 10 or 20, 30 years to when I lived on Malta. Of course, Malta is highly Templar.
Yeah.
Right, or hospitalier, or whatever you want to call them. And I mean, it all started out by me getting up in the morning. First morning we were in Montignac, and I went down to I probably told you this newsagent, wanted to buy a lottery ticket, blah, blah. I walked in there, and Anne-Sophie, the lady who owned that, had a bloody great Alsatian, which scared the shit out of me, but that's another thing. And she said to me, "Bonjour, chevalier." And I said, "Bonjour, comment appelez-vous? What's your name?" She said, "Je m'appelle Anne-Sophie." Now, she's probably been something in a past life of mine, but I couldn't get over this. She didn't know my name. She just called me "Bonjour, chevalier," which means a knight.
Yeah.
Then I went across to the boulangerie to get get a breadstick or two and some croissants. The girl behind the counter said, "Bonjour, chevalier." I thought, come on, this is getting a bit much. And then I went down to the charcuterie down the road, and the guy behind there said to me, the first thing he said when he opened his mouth was, "Oh, bonjour, chevalier." And I thought, what the friggin' hell's going on here?
Third person.
When I got back to the house, I said,
The third person. That's...
three of them,
Yeah.
quite separate.
Wow.
And it occurred to me that was another life, experience in another life.
Wow.
And I said to Val, I told her what had happened, and I thought to myself, well, shit, I better go out and buy myself a horse and a suit of armour. But I mean, that was palpable. I mean, I could feel it.
Yeah.
And from there on in, I became very much, I became very conscious of what the Chevalier, or what the Knights Templar were up to. And they were not good people, most of them.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they slaughtered. And one crusade, they slaughtered 35,000 men, women and children who were totally unarmed, and screamed at them, "Infidels!" And they went chopping into pieces, right? They killed 35,000 people. Nowadays, turned around a bit, isn't it? They call us infidels, right?
Yes, as the Muslims. There was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fight
The
yeah.
Muslims call us infidels.
But
So it's you know.
the French word was infidelité, meaning
So be
those
careful
who do not believe.
Careful
Sorry.
what you ask for.
Sorry.
And then that's how, I've answered your question. That's how I came across it,
Yeah, okay.
and I'm very conscious of it. I mean, even where I even wear a temple cross on my
Yes,
chest
that's why I
now.
had remembered to ask you that because you mentioned it. That's why I wanted to ask.
Okay.
That's why I wanted to ask him because he had the Templar.
Yeah,
Templar.
yeah.
There's no two ways about it. And many things happened in UK
Yeah.
and in France, which have made me feel quite comfortable with Templars. Anyway, that answers that question, does it?
Yes, that does.
Right. Next question.
Thank you. Okay, what memory do you have or believe in of past lives with Val? Do you remember any, or have you been? Have you
Do I remember any past lives with Val?
Yeah.
We've had a lot of past
Yeah.
lives.
We've had a lot of past lives. I mean,
When you get my book, I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
But
No, I have read it.
spread it out. It's quite a lot.
Mhm.
And it's only about the famous ones. When I say famous, I mean the ones that were in power, that are recorded.
Yes.
So, and they had positions of being able to make change. That was the reason they incarnated into those lives.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because we came with a mission. We didn't actually have to come. We've come voluntarily to this earth, this planet. We've been many times before.
So you have chosen to come back always?
Yes.
we see Richard.
Because some people
To
don't
help it into the
choose.
golden age.
Richard the
Yeah,
Lionheart
okay.
was a Templar, right?
Right. Yeah.
And his mother
Uh-huh.
was Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Yeah,
Ah,
I've got that in
Right. Okay. So you were mother and son in one.
No,
Yes,
we've
I
had-
didn't
we've
think
had-
I didn't think I'd ever had a life with him as his mother.
Nor did I.
And when that came
You're a
through,
bloody warrior.
I was, I'd had a fall, a serious fall. I was in real pain,
Oh no.
and that breaks you down to open up. This is upstairs working with you. It open up to the memory.
Oh,
And
okay.
so all I could think about was like I was living there in pain and that sort of stuff, and just in France for
And when
6
you-
months. But I was remembering Eleanor Aquitaine life, and it
You
was
see-
disaster.
It wasn't only those three situations in the shops in Montignac.
Yeah.
Lucien, the gardener,
yeah.
Lucien, yeah.
Lucien and I became great mates because he'd looked after that garden for, what's his name? What's the bloke's name who owned the bloody thing?
Was that the palace that you guys
Forgot his
stayed in?
name
Or
now.
castle, wasn't it?
No, this was at the Crown House he had on a couple, 2.5 acres.
Yeah.
With a swimming pool and everything. And
He
Lucien,
sold it since.
he sold it since. She'd never had it in the first place.
No,
However,
that's not right.
hang on, Paul, just a minute. Let me say what I want to say, if you don't mind, for once. I had a long talk with Lucien, and Lucien had lost heart in looking after the garden he was supposed to. And I said, why has it got to rack and ruin? He said, what the hell was the guy's name?
Yeah, I can't remember.
The person who owned the bloody thing,
Yeah,
what's his
no,
name?
I can't remember.
Jesus Christ.
He
He
came
came
and
here.
lived here.
We did a house swap.
Oh
with him.
yeah, I remember you saying this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice that you guys could do that.
Yeah.
A house swap. So how did you meet him? Sorry, I didn't.
Through it was through a website that you could
like
do
a-
exchange with people
Swap houses.
from all around the world. Actually.
That's really cool. Can
All around
just
the world.
Do you know the website or?
Anyway, we
Do you
made
remember
this
the
swap.
website?
And the thing was that
Oh, never mind.
the thing was that he hadn't looked after the place and he'd lost it, and he'd lost his girlfriend. His girlfriend Michelle and he were coming down here, but they never turned up. He came on his own.
Oh.
They'd broken up,
Oh no.
and it was a bad relationship situation, and he just lost complete care of the house and the garden and the whole bloody bit. I mean, if you saw the garage he got there, Christ, what a bloody shambles. And anyway, I said to Lucien, Lucien, I know you're upset with the owner and so on. Why don't we do something? I don't like seeing the garden like this, and I've got to live here for the next 6 months. Why don't we do something about it? And we did, didn't we?
Yes.
We really got to work on it.
Oh, so you helped him.
And I helped him.
Oh, that's
But
nice.
he kept on, every now and again, the old Chevalier bit came out.
Ah.
So he's
He'd
probably,
always be tipping his hat.
he's always
Oh,
he's
wow.
tipping his forelock to me, you better believe it, and I didn't know why.
Did
But
he
then
know
on-
what he was talking about? Was he conscious of it, or did it
No,
just come out?
No, it
It
just
just
came
came
Oh,
out.
wow.
This is the thing. This is the
Wow.
thing
And
about
Lucien
that
came
life.
very close
Yeah,
to me, but he
right.
always he'd always doff his hat or his hair or something and his forelock with me, and it was it was a token of respect. You didn't have to do that because I liked the guy very much indeed. Right, but obviously I had obviously had a past life with him.
Okay.
He was probably my soldier servant in a charge against the Muslims or something. I don't know. It all kept on coming out, and then when we went to Poitiers, do you remember that? It turned me inside out. I nearly sort of went underboard because was it Eleanor of Aquitaine built that great castle there in Poitiers? Who built that?
Yes. Well, she lived there. She was married there.
Yeah, she was married there. She's married to Henry II.
But there was this was a family. The family has been well historically recorded as being at each other's throats. So there was 8 children.
Okay.
And the first 4 were boys.
The 3 four most notable ones were Richard, John, Geoffrey. There's one other. I can't
Richard
think
wasn't the first. Henry was.
Henry was.
Yeah, but he
Child.
died.
Henry died. That was Henry, Richard.
Second or third.
Anyway, there were 4
somewhere
of
in
them.
between.
One died.
Okay.
And I felt so bloody uncomfortable in Poitiers, I couldn't get out of the damn place fast enough.
No,
And then
that's
went
right.
to Limoges, which is sort of east, and I felt totally comfortable there. It was definitely something in a past life was upsetting the hell out of me.
Oh.
That was the family and the
It was
relationships.
the family, and I found this more or less the same thing when we went to Faur or wherever it was where they were all buried. Remember that?
Where they were
Where
buried.
they were buried.
Yeah, well,
Who was buried?
Faur,
they were Fonferreur.
that's it.
They were buried there, but that was just Richard the Lionheart and his father,
Okay.
Henry II, and Eleanor.
And John.
John?
I think Prince
No,
John
no,
was
no.
buried. One of them was there.
Richard with his wife.
Richard
the
and his
Lionheart.
wife.
Yeah,
Did Richard have a wife?
yes.
I thought he was queer. Okay,
He
never
was,
mind.
but he had
But he had a.
he
had a cover up.
It was done for
He's getting it both ways,
politics, but
so to speak.
Oh,
I don't
dear.
know. I don't know whether he was queer or what. He was just so busy fighting wars. Anyway, in that
So-
life,
Yeah.
That
okay.
whole visit to France I walked away from that with a tremendous. One of the reasons I wanted to go to Malta was when we can't go now because we can't travel.
Why?
Well, we can, but Val's heart may not handle
Oh,
it. So,
okay.
no,
You could go slowly, like you were saying, like maybe
Okay.
to Singapore. And
so
you guys could travel slowly to Europe.
if you go on a boat, it would be alright, but I don't think we can do that anymore.
Okay.
Oh, maybe
You
you can.
could, I think so.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't got the money.
All that, yeah.
Just manifest them.
Yeah.
and it
Manifest some,
would be very nice, but I think I would get a hell of a shock when I got there.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
been changed out of all
Ah.
recognition.
Huh?
It has changed out of all recognition, Malta.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Henry
every
the
part of the
Second-
world has been
Henry
changed.
II
now.
was.
Every part of the world has been changed now, thanks to technology. Is that what you're talking about? No.
I'm talking
It's
about Malta, which is just south of Sicily,
Uh-huh.
and
So Henry the Second.
yeah, okay.
Henry the Second. I'll get down a minute. Henry the Second was Eleanor's second husband.
Mm-hmm.
He was English, and he didn't treat her like she was used to because she came from Aquitaine, which was a place
from-
of the troubadours. You know, they used to go around
yeah,
singing,
but all
and
for all,
writing poetry, and having festivals.
yes, but
and
the one thing you're missing for all practical purposes, Aquitaine, or the Duchy of
was
Aquitaine,
bigger than Gaul.
well, it
She
the
was
most-
more
it was the
wealthy, more
Christ, you never
wealthy
let
than
me
any
finish,
of
do you?
them. She had a huge amount of money.
It was the most
She was
powerful.
only 15.
Aquitaine
she
was the most
inherited a
powerful
lot.
entity in Europe.
Eleanor.
Okay.
She was
Aquitaine
very,
was, well, at
she
that
was
time.
very clever. She
Mhm.
was very well educated, and she
Dear.
could speak Latin fluently.
Latin, really?
Latin, yes.
She could
okay.
speak French, she could speak English, she could
And
speak
I
a lot
think
of
she could
stuff.
speak Spanish as well, because she was quite often close
Anyway.
to going back and forth with the kids.
So,
Anyway,
Uh-huh.
Henry
would you like to ask the
II.
next question?
No, sorry, it's your question.
So hang on. Okay, yeah, that was about
Did that
past
answer that
lives.
question? Now what do you want to know?
So you've had many past lives, yep. Okay, hang on. What else do you want to ask?
Question 3.
Question 3. Yep. How has Val helped you believe or introduce you into the spirit realm, or did you already have beliefs?
Yeah, very much so, but I'd had incidents before this.
Oh, okay.
But really being involved with Val has culminated my feelings and sensibility. Do you say how?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or do you think... Yeah, how?
Well, apart from bashing my ear.
No, I think it all unfolded for us both at the same time.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
We're soulmates.
Yeah.
We're destined to be together.
Mhm.
I mean, Val was standing on the steps of the White Tower in the Tower of London when I was running up and down the bloody drill situations with my damn soldiers. So our spirits were probably bonded then. I don't know. Possible.
No, I would have, yeah. No, we were the same. Because I changed after I had the near-death experience, so that was the difference. I was going, so, but the thing about John and I is, and it still gets at me, is the way he carries on at times, even when he's joking.
Carry on.
It's coming out like Henry II. And Henry II didn't treat Eleanor very well at all.
She probably asked for
He
it.
put her in, he put her in jail.
Oh, really?
For
The
17 years.
15. Get it
15,
right.
oh sorry, 15 years. And she was a prisoner, and her sons were horrified. Her whole family, all the kids were. But her son, and everything about Henry II was so challenging to live with and to be a husband. He expected her. He had women on the side. He brought one in to the royal household that had just had a baby at the same time Eleanor had a baby.
She's a prostitute.
And he expected her to look after and accept the new baby, which she did.
Henry II was
What,
a
his
randy
wife?
old son.
Yeah. Eleanor was his wife, right?
Pardon?
Was Eleanor his wife, did you
Yes,
say? Yeah,
she was his wife, yeah. She was a queen.
And the Queen of
Oh,
England.
right.
Yeah, he brings in this other one
Mm-hmm.
and expects her to be accepted within the royal household and live there with the baby.
So the British have been arseholes for a long, long time. Until
Yeah,
Magna
and every
Carta.
now and then John comes up
Look
with,
at it.
and I can click, it clicks. Just reminds me of Henry II, and I choosily kill him.
And then it's time to pour water all over
It
me
was so
again.
hard to live with him. honestly.
Go on. If you finish that question now.
Okay.
No,
Yes.
but
Hang on.
as Henry, as Richard the Lionheart, he was very much like his father.
Oh, I see.
So he was difficult as well as a child, as a son.
Okay.
Although she respected him and she did honour him,
Yes.
and she gave him all the wealth that she'd inherited from Aquitaine. It was all weird, really.
Who bailed Richard out when he was captured? Anyway, look, that's by the by. Let's
Yes, about-
next question.
Yes, forget that.
Okay. All right.
It was
Does
very
that
hard,
answer the
that
question all right?
Yes, that was good. Thank you.
life. What are you supposed to learn from that one?
I don't know. Let's get the next question going.
About. Yeah. Anyways, okay, we'll go on. Yeah. What is your opinion on life after death?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that my belief is this, that the body, the physical body, is purely a temple of the soul. And when the body expires, the soul goes walkabout. Right? Literally.
Yeah.
You go and you come back again. And you have the chance to write your own charter before you come back, or you can say, no, I'm not going back. Equally, up there, they can say, you can get out of here, we don't want you. So, I mean, that's what hell's all about.
Wow.
What?
So,
Hell.
What's this? We're on different paths there.
yes, all right. Well, I've just deviated slightly, very sorry.
I don't
Taken
believe
the
in
alleyway
hell. I
too.
know it exists, but I don't.
Well, I mean, you get. It's very simple. I'm quite clear on afterlife and the fact that you do come back. What you come back as, God knows. I mean, the Buddhists have all sorts of things. If you go and kill a rat, the chances are you'll come back a rat.
But like,
Do you believe
I mean, do you think that only Earth, like you would
He's Buddhist,
reincarnate
he
on
doesn't believe
Earth,
that.
or you
Right.
could reincarnate
Yeah.
in another planet or another
You're
universe?
Buddhist, aren't you? You're not Buddhist. You are, sort of.
I'm nothing.
Exactly,
You're
me too.
nothing.
Nothing.
You're yourself.
You're
You're nothing. I
You
see
are
nothing.
yourself.
I hear
Your part,
nothing.
your part and your God is yourself. Same as me.
I was grown up as Hindu, but
Oh,
So
were
how
you?
can he be a Buddhist,
I
you
thought
silly
you
old
were.
man?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was talking about Buddhists so much, I thought you were.
Anyway, so what
Yeah,
was the
he
question
do.
again?
He do.
No, so do you think, like your soul, you said, might come back as a rat or
No,
whatever?
I don't think that at all. No way.
Okay.
I should come back
Okay.
as something important, or I won't come back at all.
Okay. But do you think only on Earth or as well in other?
Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a huge firmament out there. You never know where you're going, or where you came from, for that matter.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, I might have met you first of all on that Andromeda, where it is
Yes.
possible.
Yeah,
So,
I think
you know,
like
I
No,
think-
we met
Our
at the when that were here and not on this earth when you came leading all those Leonines to save us. That's when we met, I think.
Which
We
Leonides?
knew each
Are you
other
talking
before.
about?
That's nearly a million years ago.
Are you
Wow.
talking about?
You remember that?
Yes, I
I
do
read that
actually.
memory.
Wow.
Yes, that's weird. I do remember
Are you
that
talking about when we
So
went
you
out to
remember
Carry
a
On?
billion years ago?
Hang on, are you
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
Carry On?
one. What?
Crazy, man.
You talking about protecting you at Carry On? Is that what you're on about?
Yes.
Yes.
And I helped
Well,
you because you'd been bitten by a snake. And
Yes.
you were very upset
Whoa.
because there was no way a star person, a warrior,
Yeah.
the universal policeman, is that it? Cosmic policeman.
Cosmic Cop.
Oh,
Cosmic
yeah,
Cop.
yeah.
Yeah, was going to be brought down by a silly looking snake from one
But there
boat
were
that
also
just
a
didn't
bunch of-
fit with what a war was about.
Ah.
They used to go throwing comets at each other and stuff like that. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
But
So,
there were a bunch of bloody hoons tearing up and down that road.
yeah, that's right.
And I went.
Oh, so
so-
you remember as well?
So you remember your past
You
life
remember
as well?
the
Yeah.
Well, I don't
life
know.
of
Yes,
I mean,
in
the
this
life?
particular
it
one
was
we
something.
played out, yeah.
Do you want me to answer the question or not?
Don't look at me, they're interrupting as well.
You? Me interrupting Christ. That's something new. So anyhow,
I always cop it.
so
No, we
these
did.
blokes are on bloody motorbikes and they were just bad news. They were obviously trying to cause a problem. They wanted to give us a problem. So I walked up to them and I warned them that if they didn't pull their head in, I was going to do them in. And for some reason, they just curled up and went.
He does that.
I
There's
mean,
something
I-
about him that he just bluffs
It's-
everybody. You bluffed me
I
for
just,
years.
I just wagged my lion's tail and they all fucked off. Lovely. So yeah, that's a fact, isn't it?
What'd you say?
I got rid of them.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yep, they just went away. And
It's
they
a
were quite,
powerful presence.
you know, sort of
Hmm?
John, you have a
creating a
powerful
lot of
presence,
trouble.
I think. Yeah.
But that was like a replay of what had happened all that time before.
But I frightened them to death because
That was the weird thing about
I
it.
don't know what came over me, but whatever I said or did, or whatever my demeanour was at that moment, I scared the shit out of them. They were off like a bunch of long dogs.
Oh dear.
They were
Now,
screaming
next
up
question.
and down. That's all closed off now,
Excuse
by
me.
the way.
Next
Something
question, please.
Okay, next question. Yeah.
You wanna finish it off?
What is your opinion on the reptilians and other ETs, extraterrestrials, or if you believe that they exist?
I believe they exist. I'm not terribly sure that I'm comfortable with them all.
Yeah.
I don't like reptilians too much.
Mhm.
I'm a
Right.
leonine, for Christ's sake. What do I want to have to do with bloody reptiles? And I'm terrified of snakes.
Yeah. Right. Me too.
When we were in, where was it? Puttaparthi or shut up. Puttaparthi or Brindavan.
Put a party.
Puttaparthi. There was a snake charmer there.
Mhm.
But Val was also there. We walked straight past it. Not me, mate. I was right.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't go near it.
Was playing out that particular
Thing.
thing that he had to at that time.
And then I've had
Oh,
another
about
experience
snakes.
with a cobra.
Yeah.
Where I shot the bloody thing. I told
Oh,
you
wow.
about that with
No,
my
yeah,
kittens.
In
Yeah, I
Malaysia,
think so.
Malaysia.
Yeah.
Malaysia.
The thing is that in the cosmic world, the reptilian and the leonines were arch enemies. They always fought. They never came to peace with each other.
In
I don't know if they even are now.
In
Right.
fact,
Are they
when
the
I
cat
got rid of
people?
those hoons, I recall quite clearly calling them a bunch of fucking reptiles.
Sorry, should I spit on you? Sorry.
I remember that now.
Dear.
Right
Sorry.
Next,
Yes. Okay. We have
Maybe
in
we
place
don't
or
need-
something.
extraterrestrials might pop in again.
Who knows?
Maybe we
knows?
don't
But I
need-
think maybe that maybe we could form another sort of way of living. We maybe don't need systems anymore because I don't think that they work. You know, it's like labeling things or these sort of stuff don't holds the value of like our country or even what we think of people, you know, like it's always subject to change, everything. So I feel like systems and labels they don't last long, you know?
No.
So it's not something that's very
Well,
accurate.
all the people living
Mm-hmm.
on this earth are carrying a spirit
Yes.
of one sort or another. You understand what I'm saying? And so therefore they are not, they don't really come into consideration. They are all carrying spirits. When their body dies, they will go off up there and they'll come back as God knows what. I mean, I might come back as a polar bear or a...
Polar bear?
No, we don't come back as animals. We've been animals.
Oh, I don't
We
know
come
about that.
back
The Buddhists
later
are quite
as
strong
a
about that.
raised consciousness, a raised.
You think you will come back to Earth again?
I don't know. I'll go somewhere, possibly. I mean, they may have a bloody big jail up there and they'll stick me in there. I have no idea. I have no idea. All I do know is that there's an afterlife, and what happens to you is to be left to our imagination.
That's a very difficult topic. It's too broad and there's too many
Okay.
opinions. So,
So what's the next question?
I was just going to ask you about your bloodline ancestry, but you kind of touched upon it with the Templars.
My bloodline and
Ancestry, like through your...
You're going to stay here tonight, are you?
No. Oh, okay.
He's got a lot of interesting, what do you call it, genes, genetic inheritance.
Yeah, I know.
That's at this level, if we're talking about DNA,
Yeah.
not past life stuff. That's
No.
Are you
like
talking
your
about past life, or are you talking about this life?
No, this life.
Oh, Christ.
Yeah, it has got a lot of interesting.
I mean, I've got a hell of a lot of interesting situations.
Okay, yeah, maybe
It'd be another story.
another story, yeah.
I think.
Next time.
They can, yeah,
That's
probably
Well,
find
because
on
that's
your
the one we're
website as
focused
well.
on with the book, mainly
Yeah,
because
it's
he
your
has
soulmates.
got that connection and it, you know, he wrote a lot of stories, so
Mhm.
that's what we're writing, stories, and
Yeah.
so
That's William the Conqueror stuff, that one.
William the Conqueror.
1066,
1066.
Okay.
France.
Yeah, I think you mentioned him. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
And my
well,
mother goes back to the Romans,
Oh, wow.
so
I
therefore
think-
so do I.
in,
Okay.
before that though, in 1066,
And all that.
when did the Romans come in? They come in earlier than
Of
that,
course
didn't
they did.
Yeah, that's right. It's fun.
My mother was far, my by
But
life.
Before that, there wasn't any kingdoms really, was there?
Oh yes, there were. There was the kingdom of Northumbria, there was the kingdom of this and that and t'other.
Are you sure?
Very sure. What about King Arthur? Arthur Pendragon.
Well, that's true. They haven't proved that though. Actually, there's more written about that in French, I think,
Mhm.
than in English.
So, I mean, if you want me to go into this, I'll keep you all night. Because
Okay.
I've got a huge back. I mean, I'm related even to Lord Nelson through the Nelson Swinneys.
Oh,
That's
right.
part of my
Who's-
mother's family.
Who's Lord Nelson? I'm sorry, I don't
Who's
know
Lord
much
Nelson?
English history.
He was the
I'm
one who
really
fucked
sorry.
up the French at Trafalgar.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not related to Wellington,
Uh-huh.
and he fucked up the French in Belgium at Waterloo. But that's not my family.
Okay.
It was a real bloodbath.
Wow. All right. So you have a lot of fighting going on in
A lot of
your
what?
ancestry. Fighting like
I've got
wars
some
and-
very powerful
Yes, it's war.
ancestry.
Yeah,
All
it's a
these
lot of-
warrior stuff.
Yeah.
Warrior stuff.
Yeah.
I am a warrior.
Yeah.
Even now, I won't put up with any crap.
Well-
I'll fight.
Well, the Leonines in the race in other worlds
That's it.
used to dress
Mhm.
in clothes that looked like the same as the Romans did.
Oh. Okay.
You know, with very similar, funnily enough.
The toga. What is it called?
Yes.
You know,
and-
there's going,
Yeah,
I've got
things
feathers
across-
in my hat and a hula hula skirt.
yeah, I've forgotten.
Yeah,
that.
actually, you know, they look like the saris of India.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
the same. The Romans, like,
Yeah.
same kind of, they twist
The
it.
Romans
Togas.
girls,
Yeah, togas.
Togas.
they wore. I thought they were the Greeks. The Romans girls
Oh, sorry,
did it
yeah,
too,
they
did they?
I think, I'm not
Greeks
sure. I think
wore-
it's quite
wore
similar,
that
right?
down.
My mother was definitely, her family definitely
Uh-huh.
stemmed from the Romans because when she was young, She had this beautiful jet black hair down to her bum and beyond. When she had a straw hat on, she used to go racing on her brother's motorcycle down Cullercoats Road. They called her Ton Up Molly because she'd take a motorbike even in those days up to 100 miles an hour.
What?
She's a nutcase, my mother.
I've been on a motorbike at 100 k's an hour.
100 k's an hour? Whoa.
So
That's
100
scary.
miles an hour, not
100
k's.
miles an hour, I mean.
100 miles.
Yes.
That's
then
higher than
It was
kilometres,
pretty
isn't it?
fast
Yeah.
when you think about it.
Oh dear. That's scary.
And they showed these slightly almond-shaped, piercing blue eyes.
Wow, yeah.
It was very obvious that she came from the Romans. She's probably a camp follower up there.
Oh, John, stop it.
Sorry, what?
She's probably a camp follower.
Camp
No.
follower?
No.
No.
You know what a camp follower is?
No.
You do?
No, I don't.
Comfort women.
Comfort women.
Yes, her
You
family
know
are
what
probably
that
a
is?
bunch of comfort
Comfort
birds, and
women
then
that
she's
follow the warriors around.
So it's possible
Oh,
that
I see. I think I get
I
that.
might have a bit of noble Roman blood in my veins. I don't know.
I can't believe that of his mother.
We're not talking about her. We're talking about her parents and all the other ones. Not her. We're going back to the days of the Romans.
So how do you know your family history? Was it like told from your parents or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and also I've studied it too.
Yeah.
I've studied my own birthright, both from my mother's side and my father's.
And his
And it
father's
makes
side.
pretty interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about that book I've just lent you on India.
Oh yes,
He's
okay,
not
thank
mentioned
you.
there, but Henry Winford Barrow
Mhm.
was the private secretary to, can't think, oh, shit, the guy who formed the East India Company. What was his bloody name?
Oh,
East India
yes,
Company.
right.
Crikey.
I'd almost had it then, it's gone.
Okay.
Something of India.
He was the one who's founded
Giles
the
of
East
India.
India Company.
Giles of India? No, it's not
No,
right.
he wasn't. He was. I've almost got it on my tongue. But my father's ancestor was the private secretary of the first person who grabbed India.
Oh okay, yeah.
And I've had more relatives in India you can poke a stick at. No, really, on my father's side.
Okay, yeah.
They've commanded cavalry regiments, Indian cavalry regiments, and God knows what else. Clive,
Clive of
Robert
India.
Clive.
Yes.
Okay.
He was
Yeah.
the Englishman who went there and
Mhm.
literally stuck his flag in the bloody ground and said, "This is British." And the French were down in the south, they still are, in places like Pondicherry
Oh really?
in India. I mean, if you go down to Pondicherry or to, what was the other place?
Well, that does sound a bit French. Is that a French word? Pondicherry?
Yeah.
It's very French.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
you go across to the west coast,
Uh-huh.
you've got a Portuguese settlement called Goa.
Oh yeah, yeah. How did they end up there? The Portuguese. I don't know much
The
about.
British
On
probably
boats.
kicked them out of India.
On
Oh, I
boats
see.
they came.
Oh okay.
Actually, I've got a book downstairs that talks about Australia, almost French. 'Cause
Wow.
the French came in,
Well, they
they were
did colonize
travelling,
New
exploring
Caledonia and
at the
stuff.
same time that the British was.
The
Captain
Dutch
Cook
have
was.
been here, the
Uh-huh.
French have been here, everybody's been here, and the bloody English
just
come in and say,
didn't.
"Fuck off, it's ours." Typical.
The Australian Captain Phillip, was it, in Botany Bay,
Captain Phillip.
was in the same bay as La Perouse,
Oh
who
yeah.
was the French, and they had dinner together.
You're
But
talking
they were-
about Captain
But
Cook,
the
aren't
British
you?
had claimed it first.
Are you not talking about Captain Cook?
Yeah, no, I think it was.
Anyway, any
Phillip.
more questions?
No, that's it. That's pretty much all.
Too much, isn't it, really?
Huh? Yeah. I mean, no, that's okay. I was gonna ask you about the esoteric nature of the
About what?
esoteric nature of the Templars. The esoteric, like the knowledge that they preserved.
They
basically.
had a belief they never raised a weapon or sword in
Mhm.
anger.
Who?
Oh, I didn't know the Templars.
They're
They're not
what
my
they
lot.
said.
Who are you
That's what
talking
they
about?
said.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know much about them. That's
Who?
why I wanted to
What are we
ask.
talking about?
The
Templar.
Knights Templars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Templars.
They were monks at first, and then
Mhm.
they graduated to warlike being.
Oh, I see.
Um,
And what? And
But
what
that was to
motivated
give
them?
safe pilgrimage,
Great.
safe pilgrimage
Mm-hmm.
to people wanting to go to the Holy Land safely.
Oh, so they were like.
But at that time,
Leading
the
people.
Saladin, was it Saladin? Saladin
Sullivan.
had won the Holy Lands in the name of Buddha, Muhammad, And so they had Holy Land too. So the Christians, and that was what all the fighting was about, was the Christians and the Muslims had holy buildings belonging to their religion, both in Jerusalem. Have I got that right?
That's
Or
right,
Israel?
still have.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I
There
mean,
are
there's,
still-
That
that's
was
still
what the
going
fighting
on.
was
Still
about.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, if it had been up to left with Richard the Lionheart, who went to the Holy Land and did a deal with Saladin to allow the pilgrims to go safely in and out of the Holy Land, it would have stopped all the crusades because he agreed to it. So that was that life, which was very good, but they went on fighting, unfortunately.
Oh, I
They
see.
they went past that. I think whoever took over Saladin and whoever took over Richard, they kept on with the Crusades for quite a while, and it's been going on ever since.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's the history that the ISIS hold on to too. Do you know that in France, ISIS actually attacked France a number of times, and each time it was a date that matched with something that happened back in the 11th
You mean
century.
they
That would
terrorised
surprise
France?
me.
Well, terrorism, yes, a terrorist attack that had happened way back in the 1100s
Yeah.
in France.
But that's
It all
kinda like
started in France.
Yeah, right.
The Knights Templars began in France, but then spread out all around Europe and Spain, Portugal, England, Scotland, all those places, Malta,
I think
and even America, the United States. They were the Pilgrim
I-
Fathers.
Yeah, yeah.
mankind,
What?
mankind as a whole, whether they're Chinese or the European or the Nepalese or the whatever they are, right? I think mankind should become, and hopefully it could happen, should become multi-denominational.
Multi-
yeah.
There's one
Multinational.
creed. That's it.
Yeah,
There's
I
one
think so.
God, and
I
that's
think
it. And get hold of these priests and shut them up. I mean, what's causing all the trouble with what's his name with Muslims at the moment? The bloody mullahs.
But we need
And
to
what happens
separate.
all
what
of
happens in the
them,
Middle
but
Ages
some.
Yeah.
with all these bloody, all these goddamn bishops and priests and God knows who else in the Roman Catholic Church and in the British Church. I mean, what did Henry VIII do? Took them all out and shot them. Unbelievable. Burned all the
Christians-
monasteries.
the
It's
Christians-
disgraceful.
Went through all this
Yeah.
splitting, different ways of, what can I say, in celebrations to the Christianity, if you like.
Yeah.
And they all split and they went off into different factions. And it's almost like that's where the Muslims are going to go to, from the way I was listening to these younger ones.
Let's be quite
But
clear.
that's okay, actually, if they just leave them alone and get on with it and not try to change anyone, just accept it. As long as they're all good people, not hurting anyone, and honouring God within.
Muslims,
I mean,
It's
everyone
okay.
has their own interpretation, yes, of what is.
The only thing was that on that particular show, there was one that was really pushing, and I won't say upsetting, but she was definitely not letting the others finish talking even
Who was
from their
this?
point of view. And she was the one wearing the najib, is that what they call it?
Oh, the one.
Fully one like that.
niqab, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
burqa.
Yes, yeah. Burqa,
Yes.
yeah.
And yet she did apparently on the program show her face to the women, but
Oh,
not
really?
to the camera, not
I
the camera,
see. Okay.
but to the women. And they all lit up when they saw her face and said it was so beautiful and how they could relate to it so easily than just looking at the eyes. Yeah.
I mean, the eyes are important, but I think.
one
well,
thing,
the eyes are important, but so are the expressions on the face.
Yeah.
That's why we've got
one
a
thing
face.
people don't realise is that Muhammad was infinitely older than Jesus Christ.
Muhammad.
Yes.
Older, so he predated
I mean,
Jesus.
he was earlier time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Was
he
he?
was the desert bandit.
Yes, but I didn't think it was older.
I think so.
No, I think the Muslim religion actually existed long before Jesus.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, that's not the
because,
same as Muhammad.
Well, what the hell do you think Muhammad is?
well, Muhammad
No.
He
was
was a desert
supposed to
bandit that
transcribe.
came
No, he
later
was a
of
real
Muslim.
person. He lived. Is that right? I've got it right.
Yeah. He transcribed the Quran. As far
Sorry,
as I
no?
know. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
He
Transcribed
translated.
the Quran. Yeah.
That's the difference. Yes.
The
So he,
Quran-
But
so
really
the
it
thing
went
was
back.
He,
Even some of the young ones were talking about the dervishes and the
that's different.
Those people.
The Sufis.
They were saying it was after Muhammad, but I thought it was before.
No, I think that started maybe around the same time, maybe predated him. I'm not sure, but a lot of that cultural knowledge and that's still instilled in Turkey where I have been there. It's very like spiritual, this Sufism and stuff. It's more towards spirituality than Quran.
I'm trying to say that Christianity is more modern.
I want to ask a question.
Your what?
I want to ask an important question. Is the Zoroastrians known in Turkey?
I've never heard of them.
You haven't heard of Zoroastrians?
No.
Have you heard of Zoroastrians? Well, they exist, and they seem to be the first ones of religion. And I thought they were more or less of the original teachings of Muslim.
Could be,
because... And they were all about not having an image, rather than they were connecting to the beauty of everything.
Yeah.
They were very good at architecture, poetry, music, all those beautiful things, and gardening, all those things.
Creation.
And they still have wonderful architecture.
Oh yeah,
the Muslims,
beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't anything related to an icon.
No.
And in some ways, the Buddhists went off that way, but ended up with Buddha. But it really was not meant to have an image, an icon.
No.
Which would have been the bigger picture of what God's about, the creation.
Exactly. That's where it comes back to. I think a lot of these old cathedrals also are really stunning. Old cathedrals like the Dome, and I don't know. I've seen some old cathedrals in Europe. They have a lot there, and all these places of like spirituality or whatever you call it. They kind of tie in together through the creation story, but. I think the religion, the dogma gets to people.
So what we found in France, and I couldn't get over it actually, they had all these beautiful cathedrals in the tiniest of little villages. That was ridiculous. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, it's interesting, the history.
What they had done was overbuild the cathedrals at the time when there was a real movement to build up the Christian followers of faith, really.
Christian faith.
And before that, it was pagan.
Yeah,
and they knew and understood about all the PowerPoints around the earth, and more like what we're getting back to now in some ways. And they were built on the same place. And so the churches that you'd go in are always open in France.
Had a brain change.
Never closed up. Wow. And you could go in at any time, and I used to like going in.
Yeah.
And it's because they were really a place of light. They were lovely. I remember one that was empty, and I started singing. It wasn't me singing, I was something else took me over.
Wow.
And I was singing Ave Maria. I don't even know the words, but I sang it, and it sounded gorgeous. And it was actually then the Gothics came in and built these big...
Yes, gargoyles.
But in France, they're very careful to say it was Frenchman made, not Goth. That they wanted to still keep with the ancient masons that linked back to masonry actually in ancient Egypt.
Oh, I see.
So
I had seen that actually, just as a side note, that the coordinates of where the Grand Pyramid is actually the exact same numerals as the speed of light. I'd seen someone study about this. About light consciousness or something.
Yes, Tesla has been into a lot of all that, and Tesla left without. Apparently, a lot of his records were lost. They were burnt or lost or something, and he really was. In fact, it was said that some other actually said he'd sent him here with all that knowledge. Yes, that's right.
I mean, I think.
So isn't it a shame? There always seems to be something that's interfered with all the good stuff that could have been built on.
Yeah, I mean, look at Tesla now. Look what's happened. I mean, not that electric cars are
bad. It's starting to come back.
Yeah, I mean it is. But
so who's God's messenger
it was
on
supposed
earth
to be
today?
about free energy,
Yes, that's what it is. Yes, that's right.
And they've sort of distorted that.
And there are pyramids all over the earth that actually matched.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They're like on power grids, like you said, of the earth.
Yeah. Who's driving?
Because I drove.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I'll
drive.
You're also going to sleep. You're a bit of a health hazard.
Alright, I'm sorry. Yeah, we should.
What time is it?
So,
5
any
to
more
5?
questions?
Oh, sorry, it's
This is
5.
still-
No,
Any more
no.
questions?
So we can-
No, that's all
Did
for
I answer
today.
the questions okay?
Yeah, thank you. It was very, very beautifully answered. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, thank you so much to the both of you.
So,
Got a lot of listening to do.
yeah. Well, not me.
Alright.
You might be saying, do you remember what John said?
Yeah.
When, just after he said something.
Yeah.
No, it's
But
good.
he's carrying on a bit.
Flowed on, so.
Actually, when I think about it, I haven't really asked him what he believes in. And I thought we were more
I
in
tell you
tune,
what
but
I
I'm
believe
beginning to
in.
wonder.
I actually believe in you.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Aww.
With that question.
Isn't that a song? Isn't that a song?
Eh?
Isn't that a song?
I believe in you.
Yes.
No.
I believe. Well, I think we should.
You
make
are
it
the sunshine of my life.
Aww.
That's the one.
Oh,
That's
that's
our,
sweet.
that's our song.
Oh, that's cute. Alright, thank you guys.
That's a
Thanks
nice
so
song.
much for.
Pleasure.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks for your
It
time.
must be a
and
long
thanks-
day for you.
Yeah.
Long day for who?
You just
No,
talking.
I haven't even started yet.
Alright, I'll end this interview.